Hello.
What is going on, everybody? We are back for another episode of our Movie Brackets show. It's going to be the usual kind of chaos.
It is.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Are you ready?
I am. This is going to be a lot of fun. I am going to start bringing in some of the normal crew we have. He is returning from his hiatus from last week. We are, of course, bringing in Mr. Adam Collins. How are you?
Oh, I'm first? Oh, okay. How's it going? It wasn't much of a hiatus. I wasn't able to be on camera. I had too many things going on. But thanks for letting me be in the chat because I had things on my mind.
That is, you did, and it was a lot of fun, and thank you very much for those comments. We are also joined, as always, by the incredibly lovely Marisol McKee. How are you?
Cheers, everybody. I'm doing great. Happy Sunday.
It is Sunday.
I mean,
for you guys.
Tomorrowland over there. I probably might summon Tomorrowland into IG now because
I apologize to every IG competitor. We are also joined by the wonderful Mara Canopic. How are you?
I'm much more cognizant and aware of my surroundings this week. I also didn't even know Adam wasn't here last week.
Oh, I was because he was reading my comments out loud. So I understand why you may have thought I was here.
I remember nothing. I remember some small amount of mumbling regarding Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but that is all I remember.
Well, you were incredibly productive.
And you fed Dan some of your food, which was really thoughtful because you were the one under the weather. Yeah.
Oh. Kill me.
It was a great plot twist.
I've only popped out 5 stitches so far, so there's still 108 in there.
Oh, all right. And we are, of course, always joined by Jesse and Lauren. How are you?
Good. Hi, everybody.
We're both a little sweaty right now from trying to
build things,
and set them up, but we're doing good.
Great.
It's looking amazing, guys. We have a very big show this week and a lot of Spider-Man. So let's start, however, with our first matchup that is not Spider-Man related. We have Red versus Alien. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
What? Okay. Alien. This does not need much explanation. But Alien still gets me even on after multiple rewatches. Alien is still just, I'm racked with nerves like watching that film. It is a masterclass in suspense, terror, claustrophobia, fear of darkness. Somebody help me with that phobia, whatever fear of darkness is. But it's such a masterclass of that and such a beautiful blend of horror into sci-fi, and I think a very meditative and a much more meditative and beautiful way than it done before, but beyond like basic like many like it's not like, you know, Creature from the Black Lagoon or something, like, you know, like something like beyond maybe B-movie horror type crossing over with sci-fi. I think it's an excellent film, still to this day, holds up after years. And Red is fun enough. Red is decent. It's fun enough for the concept of what it is. It's really fun to see all those actors there. But that's just about it for me. It's fun and it's decent and it's fun. And it is not an all-timer the way Alien is in any possible sense of the word. Easily aliens.
Alien. Tell.
Oh, okay. I watched Red for the first time 2 days ago. I don't know. Time doesn't matter anymore. But I just watched Red for the first time, and I had fun with it. Actually, I wasn't sure what to expect because not many people really talk about it. But I enjoyed the ensemble cast. I thought it was a fun adventure kind of story, but putting it up against Alien is just mean. Like this randomizer thing was like death to Red immediately. That just stands against this movie. Alien is a lot of wonderful things that have already been touched on. It's a great, it's the kind of scarier movie that I actually enjoy. It's suspense and it's darkness and it's I don't know. It's just something that sticks. It just sticks with me. It's another great, like Red, it's another great ensemble film. Like the cast is fantastic, but it's a very different movie. And I believe that it stands the test of time just a little bit more than Red possibly will.
Probably. Mara.
I can only echo everyone else's sentiments and say that Red is fun. Alien is just, it's like Patience as a film, because I imagine there are some younger viewers that may not enjoy it as much as I hope that they would, just because it does require you to wait. I mean, it was a intentional version of Jaws where they intentionally withheld things from you, not because the shark didn't work, but because they wanted you to imagine what was there. The only part that doesn't hold up, sadly, is the hands part, because they're so obviously little gloves, but I overlook it every single time because they do this just fantastic bait and switch with you about who is your protagonist, who's important. They shape and really flesh out characters that really are truly disposable, since it's a sole survivor plus a cat story. So I can be thrilled by it every single time I watch it. And I also think it makes and distinguishes Aliens so much from it, specifically because they're so tonally different but share the same universe. Can't say enough how much I hope this movie carries through as far as it possibly can. Alien.
All right. Jesse.
Hi. All right, so we're on to our first one. I like this. I think there's an interesting kind of relation / difference, I think, when I think of the cast of these two movies. You have a lot of now like veteran actors in Alien kind of at like their prime or just giving it their best go. And then Red, you have veteran actors that are at like the later stages in their careers that I think are more or less phoning it in, even though it's kind of a fun film. It's part of that, Bruce Willis just collecting paychecks a little bit.
I think it's better than that.
I think it's perfectly harmless, but also entirely forgettable. I didn't feel the need to revisit it after I saw it the first time, and I didn't go and watch the second one, so it didn't grab me in the way that Alien did. The first time I watched Alien, it was either that night or the next day. I watched Aliens just because I was like, I need to see what happens next in this franchise. So for me, for many reasons, my choice goes to Alien.
Adam.
Well, I think Alien is going to have a lot more time in the spotlight, and I'm going to get a little bit more into why I love that movie, presumably in the next round. It is my pick, but I just have to say with Red, this whole time when you pitted these two against each other, the thing I've had in my head is that scene where Bruce and Carl Urban are fighting to back in the saddle, which is very on the nose and cute. But I just imagine a xenomorph like bursting into the room, like in the middle of that fight, and spitting acid on everybody, and now I just want that. But yeah, Alien is my pick. It's wonderful. I do think Red was a pleasant surprise, though. It's got its gimmick, and but the fight choreography is pretty decent. There's some moments that make me laugh, and John Malkovich is actually really entertaining to me in that movie. But Alien is better.
All right, and Lauren.
I mean, everybody's pretty much said what needs to be said. I actually really love Red. Clearly a lot more than Jesse did.
In all fairness, I should probably revisit it. It was probably 10 years ago.
I thought it was really fun. I have a soft spot for Bruce Willis, no matter if he's collecting paychecks or not. I think he's usually a good time. Helen Mirren is always fun to watch. So even though my vote obviously goes to Alien, I did really appreciate Red. So there you go.
All right. And with that, Alien does make it through, and we say goodbye to Red. All right, we move on to our second matchup. Batman and Robin versus Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Jesse, I'm going to start with you.
So it's really fun, when you get a matchup. It's like, oh, hey, these are the two best of their respective categories. What a hard pick. But this has got to be the polar opposite, right? Man, I actually love the badness of both of these films for different reasons, and I am just as likely to watch one or the other. So I just like, what kind of cringe bath do I prefer to take? What do I want to see go further on? I think, man, they're both quotable too, so I can't base it off that. A vote for Obi. I'll just do Attack of the Clones. Ewan McGregor.
Adam.
So I rewatched both of these movies a lot compared to a lot of the movies we've been over. And I understand Jesse's reticence to rubber stamp either of these, but I am not ashamed to say that it's not hard for me to pick Attack of the Clones. That said, Batman and Robin, I think the thing about that movie is at the time, like a lot of people like that, I thought that was it for Batman for a while. And it was, but for a long time. So I was just trying really hard to appreciate what I could about Batman and Robin. And what that came down to was just rewatching it with friends. That movie's always fun with company. But Attack of the Clones, as clunky as it is, and as easy as it is to dunk on the prequels because, they're clunky. Attack of the Clones just did more of what I love in the prequels, which just blew up that world. Added so many new aspects to the history. We were all talking about Sifo Dyas for 3 years, even though he had no relevance in Revenge of the Sith. He was later explored in the cartoons, which is great, but just all that speculation came again from Attack of the Clones, at least between me and my friends. I actually enjoy Attack of the Clones for what it is, and I rewatch it probably at least once or twice a year. So Attack of the Clones.
Marisol.
Yeah. This is fun, kind of like what Jesse was saying. Like, it's like these are both two, I guess, in the scheme of things, bad movies that we all still enjoy when we watch them. Like they're like, I think Batman and Robin is firmly in the so bad it's good. The entertainment value is high on that movie. Even, whether you think it's the best Batman movie or the absolute worst, the entertainment value, the entertainment value is there. And it is I think one thing I can at least agree on, the acting is atrocious in both of these movies. There's terrible dialogue in both of them. So you can't really fault, there's some great actors in both of these films. But really terrible, embarrassing dialogue in both of them. And years and years and years later, I don't think find me two more movies that have more memes making fun of them than Batman and Robin and Attack of the Clones. These are valuable pop culture items right here, both of these films. And that deserves a lot of credit beyond saying like, oh, it's a piece of trash, forget it. Like, there is a lot of value in that. I have fun when I rewatch Batman and Superman, or Batman and Robin.
Wishful thinking there, McKee.
I have fun when I watch this too. But Batman and Robin, I'll revisit it. I might have it at like 1 star out of 5, but I'll revisit it and laugh my head off at that movie. I do think that Attack of the Clones, as like Adam said, it's considered some of the weaker of the prequel trilogy is considered the weakest movies, I think, overall out of all the stages of Star Wars. But I'm completely immersed when I watch Attack of the Clones. Like, the world is really rich, and I still enjoy that movie in spite of a lot of noticeable flaws in it, and in spite of the acting. So this is kind of tough because there's a lot of entertainment value in both these films for me, even if I don't think they're objectively amazing films. but I had to go with Attack of the Clones ultimately.
All right. Tell.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one because I think even if you don't think they're particularly good films, I think they're two of the higher entertainment value films that we have on here. And it's tough because I think both Attack of the Clones and Batman and Robin have some fantastic costuming. I think the world that you get to explore in both of them is a lot of fun. And they have a lot of personality to me. Both of them have very distinctive personalities, distinctive worlds, and there's a lot of good to take out of them. I definitely have more of a personal connection to Attack of the Clones because I watched it a lot growing up. Batman and Robin I only recently visited within the last couple of years, but I appreciate both of them definitely. I think they both have great casts, like we've said. The acting is probably the most interesting part of both of them, unfortunately, with the great casts that are there. But honestly, I think it's going to come down to the fact that I have more of a personal connection with Attack of the Clones. Like, there's not really something where, like, I think they're both great personally. Like, I have fun with both of them, but there's not much that I can be like, well, I grew up with Attack of the Clones. I think it has some of the best Padme outfits that I've wanted my entire life, so I'm probably going to have to pick that one. Like, that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
All right.
Amazing tearaway shirt.
Mara?
This is very tough because I neither love either of these, nor do I hate them. I'm kind of middling on both. I see their merits, but I also I find that they are both problematic for me personally. I have just zero thirst for Hayden Christensen in any possible way. So that really hurts because I'm like so not invested in Padme getting up in that whatsoever. Like, not even a little. But I also really I hate the Joel Schumacher Gotham the most out of all of the Gothams that we've had, real or animated. But I'll say that just solely for the purpose of I would care neither way if one of them goes forward. I am going to give it to Batman and Robin solely because even though I hate the Schumacher verse, I appreciate the tangible nature of its sets more so than having every single thing be animated pretty much in Attack of the Clones. And since it's not going to go forward, I'm going to give it its pity vote because I would rather hit Padme than have her be with Anakin, and that hurts me so much to say so. Except it doesn't because it's Natalie Portman and me thirsty.
That's fair. That is fair, and I can appreciate that. Lauren, where are you heading?
Well, I love that Marisol brought up that these are both two like firmly meme movies now, and that's kind of how they exist for us. Is they're like a little bit of a joke in a fun way. If I'm choosing between two that aren't particularly good, I'm always going to choose Sassy Obi over Alicia Silverstone doing whatever it is she did in Batman and Robin. So I'll say
right. All right, Attack of the Clones does make it through, however. So let's move on to our next one. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows versus Predators from 2010. Adam, start with you.
Are you gonna...
Me again?
Yes.
All right. So confession time. Yours truly is the proud owner of the. I got this like little steelbook thing with Predator 1, 2, and Predators in it because I had not seen Predators at the time, and that was a year ago, and I still haven't seen Predators. I'm really sorry. I know.
I would have thought that movie was like right up your alley. That's kind of why I went to you first, because I was like, oh, okay, you can have your time to discuss Predators because I figured you love this movie.
So here's the thing, Blunden. I am going to prioritize watching Predators because it's right over there on my shelf in that little steelbook case. That said, for some reason, I've seen Out of the Shadows twice. And I definitely want to vote for Predators.
That's fair.
That's Marisol logic right there. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about Out of the Shadows. I think everyone else will do it justice, and I got thoughts on other things.
You got to take a chance on one you haven't seen. I like that.
Well, since Adam didn't have anything to say about Predators, can I talk about Predators?
Yes,
okay.
Get into it.
Okay. So I've only seen both of these films recently. I saw Predators because we were doing a 2010s
recap
series that only lasted half of the year 2010, which is fine. It's whatever.
2020 was a year, okay? It was a year.
It derailed a lot of our plans. Anyway, so we watched Predators as part of our podcast that we were working on, and I hadn't actually seen a Predator film at that point. That was my introduction into any of that. I'd seen Out of the Shadows because the Schmodown wrecks my life a couple months ago. So that's how I came into both of these movies. Predators made me want to go back and watch every Predator film that there was. Out of the Shadows made me go, oh no. I don't know if we need any more Ninja Turtle films if this is where we're going with this. I don't think I can do this. I just have a lot of love for the way that Predators was made. I think that the cast was fantastic. I think, once again, it's my kind of horror movie that I like to watch. I don't know who classifies it as horror and who doesn't, but to me, it is a horror film of the kind that I like to watch. I don't know what it was about it. I just thought it was a beautifully made film. I thought that the story that they were telling you, especially after I went back and actually watched all the Predator movies, I thought the way they handled it was great. I thought it fit well into that kind of, what do we call it, Predator universe? I don't know. The alien Predator verse, whatever we're calling it. It fits well into that. It's one of the better made ones out of all of them, in my opinion. And I love it a lot. So that is my vote.
And can I just say real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't say Laura Linney. That is one thing I like about Out of the Shadows.
That's fair.
All right.
Mara.
Predators is low-key the best follow-up film to the original Predator movie, like hands down, at least for me. I was very suspect to going into it to see Adrian Brody, the rippled action star, but for me it really, really worked. He somehow made me believe he was grizzled and in no way ever starved himself and lived in a car to play the pianist. He's surrounded by a really, really good cast. Granted, many of them are quickly dispatched with, as in any movie where there's monsters chasing you. But even if not for what I think is a pretty solidly written screenplay with pretty tight pacing, considering the fact that it's a really sprawling story, because there's just a lot, especially Lawrence Fishburne. But I would have to say that no matter what, because Predators features Derek Mears, who is the most perfect person ever to play a monster, because he is the sweetest, most amazing person on planet of Earth who is in no way monstrous other than his size. I will always vote for a movie with Derek Mears in it. You can quote me on that. So love you, Derek.
Can we get the Friday the 13th remake on here next?
Yes.
Yes.
Lauren, I'm going to go to you.
Okay, so I have a choice, but I haven't seen either, but I still have a reason why. I'm picking Predators simply because Jesse and I spent about 2 hours trying to watch Out of the Shadows today and having technical difficulties, and me fighting with Amazon and like sending them messages in the chat angrily, like, why isn't this working? And so I have a lot of hostility towards Out of the Shadows now. That isn't the movie's fault, but it is what it is. And so for that reason, it's a no for me, and Predators is my choice.
See, this is why we have this show, so you can let out all your petty reasons that you don't like movies. Because the rules here don't matter.
Yes.
You can literally have any reason you don't want to like a movie, and that's a perfectly valid reason.
It just
Exactly.
gave me like a full mental breakdown, and so I can't in good conscience like it ever.
Now the question
that's
is,
fair.
would you have had a worse breakdown watching it or trying to watch it?
Jesse.
All right, so everyone has had beautiful takes, so I'm here for the crap take. And the crap take is as thus. I love the Turtles, and I thought the first, I'll say Michael Bay produced film, because I keep forgetting the director of the movie, but it sucked in every way that movie can suck. Like, it just didn't portray April O'Neil right. They started making up a backstory about the Turtles being her turtles, and I thought Splinter was botched, and the villain was like William Fichtner, and then you had like Shredder just standing in the shadows. It was very
But we
confusing.
love William
We
Fichtner.
do love William Fichtner so much, especially in Drive Angry. But yeah, and so I was like, at the time that Out of the Shadows came out, I was a big Arrow fan. So I was like, Stephen Amell in a movie, let's give it a shot. He's an awful Casey Jones, and they let him wear his mask for about two minutes. But they had Bebop and Rocksteady in it, and they had Krang, and they had the Technodrome. And even if you kind of botched that up a little bit, the fact that you did it, and I'm going to give Out of the Shadows credit for just going there. Like, every bit of that movie is like trying the hardest it can try, and it doesn't necessarily work all the time. But if you let yourself kind of submit to it like a Batman and Robin and just let it wash over you, I think you might be able to find a lot of enjoyment out of it. And if we're talking entertainment value, for me, Out of the Shadows is superior to Predators.
All right. And Marisol.
All right. Predators has, I shit you not, one of my favorite, of any film I've ever seen, has one of my favorite opening scenes of all time. I love that opening scene. It caught me by such surprise in the theaters. I remember seeing this in theaters when it first came out. It's just like, I was like, whoa, I thought the movie started in the middle of the movie. Like, I was just like, what is happening? I thought it was starting in the middle of the movie. And I just love it. I love the way it cuts right into the opening, the opening title. I love the opening scene of Predators. I'll echo Mara, like Adrian Brody. He's one of my favorite actors. I love, especially when he takes against type roles. And I think he absolutely stepped up to the plate with this movie. And the cast, man, Mahershala Ali, y'all, Lawrence Fishburne. We got Goggins over there and his teeth. And I just
Alice Braga, Oleg Toktarov. Who else am I missing?
Our Spider-Man boy,
oh.
Topher Grace.
Yep.
Yep, and
I can't
he owns all the taco
Japanese
places
guys.
in LA, and he's a hero.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, Trejo, that's right. Duh. Yes. Yeah. The cast, hello, like that cast. Moody,
Yeah.
dark, definitely the best. Dark in the right way. AVP Requiem. You know, like it's definitely the best of the Predators. Any movie that came after the first Predator. I was very pleased with it. I have a lot of goodwill for it. Got goodwill towards it. I think it's edgy, it's violent, it's nasty. It does what great sequels do, which is expand the world in the right way and show us a completely different side to the Predators that Predator 2 waited until like the end of the movie to do, which is fine. But all that is stacked against Out of the Shadows, which I've never seen. So, and there's too much going for Predators to make me ever think Out of the Shadows, even just based off of the trailer. There's no way Out of the Shadows is going to top how much I like Predators. So Predators, y'all.
Well, with that,
I
Predators-
wanted your Krang hot takes. God damn.
Fun fact, by the way, Krang is what we named my tumor until we found out it was something else that was wrong, but not a tumor. Insert Arnold impression.
Well,
Fair enough.
that's a relief.
Yeah.
It's a
Guys,
different
Brad
problem,
Garrett.
but
Oh, okay.
we're still calling it Krang though, just because.
I mean, that's fair.
That's fair.
It's a solid name.
Yeah. All right, we move. Predators makes it through. Taylor, I'm going to give you the run-up on Teen Titans Go to the Movies versus Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so here's the problem with this. I swore that I was never going to talk about The Rise of Skywalker in my entire existence on YouTube ever again. Because I've done my review. We had spent like an hour talking about it.
We spent like 3 hours.
We spent like 3 hours talking about it. I aired all my grievances. Like, I dealt with the internet being the internet and said I was never going to do it again. But here we are doing it again. I'm going to keep it brief, but I'm just going to kind of highlight the things that I hate about it and why it makes me sad as a human being that likes movies.
The more you make me laugh, the more it hurts.
I'm so sorry. This movie made me sad because it made me dislike Rey as a character who I had been very, very excited about to have in the Star Wars universe. We got a really great setup with her not being anyone particularly important and having that be more than enough for her to be the hero that she was. And then it was like, but somehow Palpatine returned and she's also a Palpatine and everyone's a Palpatine and you all get Palpatines and it's fine. No one ask any questions. It doesn't matter. And honestly, joking aside, it just made me really sad because I really enjoyed the idea of having this strong female hero that didn't need an important lineage to be somebody important in the galaxy, and that just kind of got thrown in the trash for no reason, in my opinion. I don't think we got a meaningful story arc for Finn at all. I think he should have been leading the Stormtrooper Rebellion. Instead, he just went in and shot all the people that he should be sympathetic towards, knowing what they've gone through to get to that point. And I just don't really think many of the characters had a meaningful arc. They turned Poe into a spice runner because stereotypes, I guess. I don't know. He had a whole story as a resistance hero, but all of a sudden he's a spice runner for no reason. We get to see Adam Driver's face like one time, so that was cool. What a waste that was. That makes no sense. He's like, I'm going to destroy this helmet that symbolism, and then the next movie they're like, you don't get to see Adam Driver's face. What the hell are you talking about? I don't know. This movie really just hurts my heart to think about, so I don't want to say too much more about it just because I've made my peace with not wanting to think about it or see it from a personal perspective, but I just hate it so much, and I don't like to just hate things, but we left that premiere and I just
I'll never forget that screening.
We left that premiere and I was like, I was sick. I was so sick that day. And I pushed through for the midnight press screening that we had or whatever it was. And I got home and I was like, it wasn't worth it. I should have just gone to sleep and got better. So I'm going to pick Teen Titans Go to the Movies, even though I didn't particularly like that movie either. But Teen Titans Go to the Movies at least kind of made me smile and be thankful that I was alive. So that's what we're going with.
Okay. Lauren, I'm going to go to you.
First of all, I'm here for angry Taylor. I like her.
If you had to pick between that and Crimes of Grindelwald.
You know what? I'm going to watch Crimes of Grindelwald.
No.
Not doing it. I'm not doing it.
It's fair.
Yep. Not.
Lauren.
I think a lot of people are going to talk about how bad Rise of Skywalker is. And I don't think enough people are going to talk about how great Teen Titans Go to the Movies is. Jesse and I talked about it after we saw the bracket, and we're like, we're probably going to hurt some feelings with how much we like this movie. It's so stupid, but it's so fun.
Cleverly stupid.
It's cleverly stupid. I somehow think they managed to portray the characters well, even in like kind of a mocking way. The Lion King superhero scene is a cinematic piece of art, and I would watch it every day. Are there some stupid jokes in it? Absolutely. But would I watch it over Rise of Skywalker? Any day of the week. Any day of the week. So, Teen Titans, go.
Jesse, you want to jump in on that as well?
So much. Okay, so I'm sure most people, especially in this community, know what AMC A-List is. Teen Titans Go to the Movies is responsible for me maxing out A-List for the first and only time. I saw it. I think like I was just getting all my friends because nobody cared about it, and I was like, guys, let's watch Teen Titans Go. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're gonna laugh so hard, mostly for a few specific jokes, which is the Michael Bolton tiger getting ran over, and then them saying, "Quick run!" I think his dad's a cop. And then they're going back in time because like the only way that we can be heroes is if there's no other heroes. So we're gonna undo all the superheroes.
The Aquaman scene.
And so there's like a baby Aquaman swimming in the water, and they throw a 6-pack of plastic, and he gets caught in it and starts drowning. And I'm like, this is a kids movie, but I love this movie unabashedly so much. It falls in line with like Lego Batman, where it's so self-aware. It's such a parody of DC and everything that DC's done. The way that it mocks lovingly Dawn of Justice is just... and for some reason, Shia LaBeouf. There's so many little gems in here. Speaking of Lego Batman, you get Will Arnett in there again as Deathstroke. So yeah, we can shit on Rise of Skywalker all we want, but I really want to take this moment to stand on a pedestal for the one chance that I get and say, if you haven't seen Teen Titans Go to the Movies, watch it. And I hope you enjoy it.
Jesse and I will be spending the next few days talking about how much we love Teen Titans Go.
I just want to say, so I'm not the villain by putting this up against a movie that like is an all-time classic that was just going to destroy Teen Titans Go to the Movies. So like, you actually don't hate me right now.
Not at all.
Only if it doesn't. This is a bracket buster. Let's get Teen Titans Go.
Mara.
Well, I'm going to make it official. I'm
Go.
going to vote for Teen Titans Go to the Movies, both for the fact that The Rise of Skywalker broke something inside of me irreparably, and also because I do legitimately love Teen Titans Go to the Movies. I have to be honest. I competed for IG for a long time while it was eligible, and that I had not seen it. And I finally begrudgingly was like, yeah, sure, I'll watch the kids' DC movie. And I love it. I love the idea that in this kids movie that they decide that in order to fix everything, they have to go genocide Krypton. Like, that's dark in the way that I really want kids to have to contemplate and think about the positive aspects of genocide.
They push,
but also
Bruce's
like
parents.
one of the other things, though, I've never publicly dissected Rise of Skywalker for the fact that I have some small measure of self-respect remaining that I'm gonna forfeit right now.
Sorry.
But I just, out of all of the grievances and things that the pros and the cons, because don't get me wrong, there were some really cool things that I saw in that movie. It was just outweighed by a lot of other things I didn't like. At the end, I was really, truly hoping that whether our hero or heroine in this case, whatever they've gone through, wherever they came from, that they would just decide that they were they themselves and they could find peace with their identity without needing it to be tied to anyone or anything else. I really wanted her to be like, I'm just Rey. Like, I'm just me and I'm enough. And when she said Rey Skywalker, I almost actively vomited. And
Same.
I'm not saying that for shock value. I was just so disgusted. I was like, oh, come on. You could at least end it in a way that I find some small amount of like powerful, solid message, whether it's for young girls, whether it's for adult men, anybody. Like, just find peace and serenity within the pros and the cons of you, where you come from, what you've done, and where you're going to go with yourself. And then also to see that your two parent figures are twins that are siblings.
That's a little
that
weird.
have already made out.
Strange.
I don't like that as a twin. I don't like that at all. So yeah,
That's
Teen Titans Go moves forward.
I'm just gonna say one last thing. We did go see The Rise of Skywalker a second time together, just to give me peace of mind. And I literally walked out within like the last 10 minutes of the movie because I can't see them. First of all, I can't see the Ben thing again, but then I also can't see the Rey Skywalker thing again. I'll literally vomit. Like, I can't do it. So,
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna come to Australia again. I'm gonna bring Dan. We're gonna get together. We're gonna rage watch it. We're gonna eat so much food while we watch it, and then we're gonna vomit on camera, and it's gonna be delightful.
yes, perfect.
So I'm actually going to give some commentary around this one, just because, again, I hate this movie, and that's what I did last week. I just hate watch movies, apparently. So I remember going to see, when we were going into this, we were going with a whole bunch of people, and Taylor and I were the only two who were going that actually liked Last Jedi. Like, we love Last Jedi.
And everyone else in our group did not.
Everyone else didn't. So you had the one rule of, I don't care what happens at the end of this movie. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about it because I knew that you were assuming they wouldn't like it, and you didn't want to hear just the constant negativity about it. You're like, no, I'm going to like this movie. I don't want to have that negativity. And I'm sitting there through all of it going, oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to be the one that like cannot talk about this movie. And then all of a sudden you got up, left, and then came back and like, I hated that so much. So even though I fell asleep on the plane watching Teen Titans Go to the Movies, I'm going to vote for Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Marisol.
That's fair. I've only seen parts of Teen Titan Go to the Movies. I haven't seen it from start to finish. But like I do agree with all the positives that everybody's saying about it. Like you said, Jesse's got that Lego Batman energy, like crossed with like Animaniacs. It's wacky, and I've never seen the TV show. So like this is my introduction to like that take, that take on these characters and this introduction to this world. And it's fun and it's zany and it's slight, and yes, it's very silly, but like it's too high spirited and it's too fun, and there are some really clever jokes in there. And it's wacky and it's short, and I don't carry the same like personal just like betrayal that a lot of people do carry about Rise of Skywalker. But I just feel like a parent with it sometimes. I'm just like, I'm not mad. I'm not as mad. I'm just disappointed. And like to just see like so much potential that you ladies put like articulated so well, just trash. To just see it made such a like, I completely understand, and understand why people are so like so incredibly frustrated. I see it, I feel it when I'm watching it. I'm like, this is just such a series of missed opportunities from just creating a cohesive film and creating a complete, respectable, responsible narrative with respect and proper adherence to character. It's just like on a filmmaking 101 level. It's just like there's so many party fouls in Rise of Skywalker. And I even look at that and I'm just like, this is just really disappointing because of where this could have been the pearl, the crown jewel in this trilogy. And it just went in the opposite direction. I don't like absolutely despise it, but either way, Teen Titans Go to the Movies is fun, and I will completely watch that movie pretty soon. So it definitely gets my vote because happiness rather than regret and misery.
Adam,
how's everybody doing?
Exercise to those demons, I think.
Got some episode 9 fans in the house, right? Yeah, Rise of Skywalker is, in my opinion, in many ways, it's like the best heavy metal Star Wars music video that lasts for 2 hours. Like, I want to recut it to Slayer music really bad because all that imagery of the Sith Temple and all the people in hoods, I dig that shit. I think it's great, but it feels like it's from another era of Star Wars or another thing all in. Like, Rise of Skywalker feels like someone got one of the 80s era Choose Your Own Adventure Star Wars books, did a few lines of cocaine and just flipping through that son of a bitch as fast as they can and just putting it into a movie. I'm a genuine Star Wars fan, so I'm like sitting there and I'm watching that movie, and to this day, like, I'm kinder to that movie than probably all of you, but I struggle. I have my struggles, and I have to really squint at that movie when I watch it, and I hope that there's enough Star Wars novels in the world to retrofit that thing to make it make sense. That said, I can revisit it and I can enjoy certain parts of Rise of Skywalker. But I think Force Awakens and Last Jedi are both infinitely better. And for different reasons too. And the thing about Teen Titans Go to the Movies is my introduction to that is I had seen the show, but like I've been introduced to it like in a hotel room my daughter was watching it, and it just sounded like insanity, and it was giving me a headache, and I didn't know what it was about. So I didn't want to see the movie. And so you got Rise of Skywalker, where I had these huge expectations, and I see it, and we all went through a similar disappointing experience. And then you had Teen Titans Go to the Movies, a movie I actively avoided because the show annoyed me. And then I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I think it's a love letter to DC Comics and comic book movies in general. It's very much in the vein of the Lego movies, both Batman and the other Lego movies. And I just think it's made from the heart. And Rise of Skywalker is not from anybody's heart. J.J. Abrams didn't care, and it's just so obvious with the script. And that's a bummer because it's Star Wars, and he should care. So Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
All right. And with that, Teen Titans Go to the Movies makes it through.
It means I don't have to day drink. So we're good. We're good.
Although I'm
Did it,
sure
guys.
day drinking while watching Teen Titans Go would be.
All right, we move on to Mara. I am going to start with you for TMNT, the 2007 animated film versus Spider-Man. Mara might give out her first fuck you.
No, I
No?
have
Okay.
a really big attachment to the 2007 film. I like it. It's just fine. I'm really just an original trilogy whore for the Turtles. But I mean, that first Raimi Spider-Man, like, I think that was actually my first real wake-up call that a superhero movie had real legs, that you could make a universe, that you could make something that was both fantastic yet grounded, that was realistic and yet greater than real life. And I was the right age to, for some weird reason, find Tobey Maguire somewhat enticing.
Man.
And even with the weird, like the way too red Mary Jane red in the first movie, that movie just works for me, and it works hard. Now, Spider-Man 2 is definitely better, but compared to what I find is a very serviceable TMNT, Spider-Man is going to go forward for me. I need not say much more. Plus, also, it hurts to say things.
Fair enough. Adam, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, so when TMNT came out, I was pretty hyped about it because I, too, am a whore. And I really enjoyed the original 3 Ninja Turtle movies in that vein. They're a lot of fun, and I do revisit them. So when TMNT came out, my expectations were downgraded a little bit, admittedly, because it was animated, and not that animated movies can't be great, but I wanted another live action movie. But what I will say about TMNT is it kind of quietly acknowledges those original movies and acts as like sort of a semi-sequel without really having to connect to them. Like, the Turtles are established, and I like that about it. The animation's really cool, and I think it has, of all the movies that tackle like Leonardo and Raphael, like having tension, I really like their confrontation in that movie. And I think it's emotionally earned in a lot of ways. So I just wanted to give it its due. But Spider-Man, I saw in the theaters like 3 or 4 times. It was, X-Men was like this first big, Blade, X-Men, and then when Spider-Man came out, it was just this realization of what these colorful characters could look like in real life. And I fell in love with it. And it also was like the first time I realized how strong Spider-Man could be, both with his will and physically. And I just thought that was represented really well on screen. Because even though he is super strong, he really is a vulnerable superhero. And I like that. So Spider-Man, please. But TMNT is a cool animated movie. People should check it out.
Jesse.
All right. Well, I'll let, when it gets to your turn, I'll let you talk about TMNT a little bit. But Lauren did watch it for the first time last night. We were doing a little bit of our bracket studies.
Is that only last night?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a long day. I think that, honestly, I think the 2017 TMNT is like one of the most like just spiritually accurate interpretations of the Turtles. As much as I enjoyed the original live action ones, it just feels very Turtles, and it doesn't lean as hard into the cheese as some of them do. It feels very authentic. It's dark when it needs to be dark. I like that it explores something other than let's watch Shredder for the umpteenth time. It actually starts out and they're like, after the turtles beat Shredder, and you're like, oh, here we go, let's go, we're rolling, we're in it. So it doesn't hold your hand through it. There is an interesting villain, and there's a little bit of even a twist in there where you think that it's going one way and actually it's the other, and I think that's very refreshing. Plus, you have Uncle Iroh voicing Splinter. That's got to be the highlight of the film.
There's my Appa backpack in the background.
Spider-Man. So I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that out of the Raimi films, the first Spider-Man is still my favorite of the three. I can get into that more down the road. I liked it for a long time, kind of until Iron Man. Really, Spider-Man and X-Men were like the things that changed how we looked at comic books. And there's a lot of other companies that are, yeah, let's do a Daredevil, let's do a Fantastic Four. And it's like, it's not Spider-Man. Spider-Man was very wholesome in its heart. It was earnest. Sam Raimi definitely attempted to make a love letter to Spider-Man, and he was able to ground it where it needed to be grounded, have some grit, have some stakes. And even though the Power Ranger costume might not have really worked, Willem Dafoe is such a fantastic Norman Osborn. I will go back and watch this movie any given day. There's only a few things that don't work for me: organic web shooters, the really awkward Mary Jane Peter stuff. But everything that's Spider-Man is fantastic. And I'll watch that cage fight with Bonesaw on repeat all the time. With all that long-winded answer, I am going to say Bonesaw is ready to move on to the next round. And my vote goes to Spider-Man.
Tell.
I'll keep this one pretty short and simple. I have seen TMNT. It is a fun film. I really enjoy the characterization of the turtles in it. I think it's a fun watch, but I do think that first Raimi Spider-Man film really set the tone for what we were going to get out of superhero films and really showed us what we could get out of comic book movies and that it could work in a real life, live action sort of situation. And there are a lot of positives about it, so I'm going to pick Spider-Man.
All right, Marisol.
Yep. No, Taylor, you nailed it. 2000s were awesome. X-Men, especially with Marvel. I'm talking about from my experiences here. Like X-Men opened the door with like definitely more serious-minded, still capturing the themes and the important themes of the story, but definitely more like serious-minded superhero movie. And we arrived with Spider-Man. Like Raimi, what a perfect choice to bring Spider-Man just to life. And superhero movies after that definitely followed that. Like they were like, gotta be like Spider-Man. Also, hello, let's talk about $400 million, over $400 million at the box office back when that meant, back in 2002 dollars. Okay, that's when that meant something. When I was 12 and Spider-Man just came out and it was huge. It was one of the biggest movies of all time. Like it was setting those kind of records again back when those records meant something. And I had never seen something like that since Titanic. I had never seen something like that where a movie just came in and made $400 million domestically. And that was how big Spider-Man was. I have a lot of memories connected to that. Spider-Man was huge. And it's just such a testament to how universally grandparents, kids, everybody was going to go see that movie because my mom doesn't even give a shit about superheroes. And my mom took me to see Spider-Man twice. And she was climbing up the walls after we left the theater. Like she was pretending to climb up the walls because she thought, I don't know, that was like one of her favorite parts. That's how big and universal the appeal of Spider-Man was. We can never forget that. TMNT has none of that. I'm sorry. It's pales in comparison. I'm not going to say anything else about it because it's so clearly, my pick is so clearly Spider-Man.
Yeah, I also picked Spider-Man. I had the same experience. My dad took me to see Spider-Man, which my dad doesn't go to movies like at all. He rewatches the same 6 movies constantly on TV, and that's basically.
Or he watches MASH.
Or MASH.
Or MASH.
That's just my dad. That's what my dad watches.
Same dad.
So he actually took me to bit. Like we were talking about that the other day. Like I was shocked that he'd actually seen the first Lord of the Rings movie. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen this." And I went, "I'm sorry, what? When did you see Lord of the Rings?" What? Anyway, so yeah, he actually took me to see this, and he really enjoyed it, and he loved it, and we went to see the second one together as well, which was a big shock. So I am absolutely voting Spider-Man because it was this cultural impact of a movie that people seem to have let be forgotten. People have seemed to have allowed the significance of Spider-Man and what that did for comic book movies, and culturally they've allowed it to be forgotten because it's very cheesy. It wears its heart on its sleeve. It doesn't apologize for what it is. And I'm very glad that we do have this Spider-Man movie, because I do think it's a really having rewatched those movies last year, I was one of those people who was like, oh no, they're cheesy and they're dumb, and then rewatched them and went, no, actually these are really good. These are fun movies and I really enjoy them. So yeah, I'm voting Spider-Man, and Spider-Man makes it through.
You skipped me.
No, I did. Sorry, Lauren. Yes,
The deciding vote, baby.
yeah.
I mean, it's maybe for the best that you skipped me, because this might be when you stop inviting me to come back. I'm still voting for Spider-Man. I don't care for it. I have a lot of issues with it. As somebody who grew up with a really nerdy father and would actually like read comics with him, the organic web shooters are disgusting. Okay. Peter Parker is supposed to be smart. He's not supposed to be awkward and creepy. He's supposed to be intelligent. And Sam Raimi was like, what if we just made him uncomfortable to watch? Do you think that? It started with Mary Jane. It always starts with Mary Jane. It shouldn't. She should be his last love, not his first. And I'm pissed about it. There's so much I don't like about it, and everybody hates me for it, and I can live with that. There are some things that work. I think Willem Dafoe was the best part of the movie for me. I get all fired up about this. I am grateful for its existence, and that, like everybody talked about, it was a cultural thing, and I think it paved the way for a lot of other superhero movies. I think in hindsight, I'm really angry at it. I'm grateful for what it did, but I'm angry at it. I think that they butchered Peter Parker. I really do. I think he was an okay Spider-Man. I think he was a terrible Peter Parker. He's not supposed to be creepy. They made him creepy. They take a lot of issue with that.
All right. Is it Toby's Peter or Hayden's Anakin? Who's the bigger creep?
Real Sophie's choice.
Maybe that's what we need to do for our ladies' night episode. Who's the worst?
I like that, actually.
That's a great debate.
I enjoyed TMNT. I thought the voice cast was really impressive. Like Jesse talked about, it's kind of like a more earnest take on the Turtles. They're like, hey, what if we took them just like a little bit more seriously? And there's still like fun and goofy moments. I'm still picking Spider-Man, you guys, but I'm upset about it because I don't like it. So it's been really nice.
No, Josh, you're still invited. Your fiance might not be at the end of this episode, but you're still invited.
All right. Don't worry, we both have hot Spider-Man takes, so there's more to come.
Oh God!
All right, let's move on to our next one. We have Ghost World versus the 2004 Hellboy. Lauren, I haven't started with you yet, so I'm going to start with you.
Oh, back to back.
I've seen half of one of these.
I did like Hellboy a lot. For me, I'm going to keep this one short because I rambled on about how much I hate the other one for a while. If it's a superhero movie who has an affinity for cats, that's obviously going to be my choice. So Hellboy.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I don't know who can see it, but I'm wearing my I've got my shirt ready for this today. So I think I'm gonna keep it. Oh,
and
nice job.
Yeah, well done.
There we go. Maybe. I don't know if we can see that, but there it is. I got my Del Toro. I'm repping my Del Toro today, so there you go.
All right. Marisol.
This is not quite a fuck you, But this is a solid damn you, Jacob. These are both two great films, and both deserve to go on. I don't like this matchup. I don't. Damn you, Jacob. I don't really like choosing between these two movies. Ghost World is so great. It was so refreshing. I honestly, sue me. I didn't know it was based on. I didn't know it was like a comic book property until much later. I had to learn that way after the fact, after I saw that movie a long time ago. Thora Birch for the win. She's just if Daria just like jumped if Daria Samara'd out of a television, she'd be Thora Birch in Ghost World. And she'd be Enid with just a dye job. Really, really, really do thoroughly enjoy Ghost World. But Del Toro is just his production design is always off the charts. His character design is so creative, it's so beautiful. When he applies himself to comic book lore or mythology and that kind of stuff, you get beautiful shit like Hellboy, which you would only get better at in Pan's Labyrinth. We'd see like his masterpiece in Pan's Labyrinth. But like Hellboy, it's just, if that were in the hands of anybody else, I'm not going to say anybody else, but a lesser, like, it just kind of, if that were in the hands of the director of fucking Jonah Hex, like Hellboy.
He has a name.
You besmirch his name.
Yeah.
That we do not speak.
Lord Hayward.
But Hellboy could have been such an average film, especially it came out the same year as Blade Trinity. Like it could have been, and it's like, oh, demon, like it's the same kind of ballpark of subject matter, I'm sure, for a Hollywood exec. And it could have just been such a shitty, crapped out average, another Daredevil, Elektra, Blade Trinity. It could have been just one of these completely average movies, average comic book films in the mid 2000s. And they blessed us by giving it to the hands of Del Toro. And it just elevated that material so much and so much more playful and creative. And you got Ron Perlman centering the whole thing. Hellboy, I think we were blessed with that. We put the material in the right hands, and director's vision breathes life into bringing something to the screen that makes it feel fresh and alive. I really hate choosing between these two movies because they're both really great, and I both enjoy them for very different reasons. I went through all of that, and I still have no idea which one I'm choosing. Shit.
Damn you, Jacob. Back to you.
Damn you. Oh.
If you want, I'll talk for a while and then you can decide.
No, look, Golden Army's not going to make it through because it shouldn't. Whatever that's up against, I don't think that should make it through. So I'm going to break it down like that. But Ghost World is so unlike any other movie that's going to come up in this whole entire bracket. We want to see an 18th, like, superheroes fighting aliens, like a sky battle, blasting things. Do we really want to decide between like it's going to come down to like Infinity versus Endgame? So do we really want to leave Ghost World out of this whole thing? Like, just. Oh God, please come back to me. Can I do that?
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll come back to you. All right, Mara.
I'm so sorry.
So Marisol literally took the words out of my mouth. Now, I'll admit, I'm a Golden Army defender. I'm not saying it is a great movie. It is a vastly inferior sequel, but on its own, it actually is a very good adaptation. I know some people would think that that's sacrilegious, but it is. And so it would be easy, just so completely easy to choose Ghost World in that situation, because that movie speaks to my kind of weird, especially my kind of the teen me that was both knew exactly who I was, but didn't like who I was. So I wished I could just be different than what that was. And I really, really, that movie is just like such a sleeper, coming of age kind of movie. And it's so tough. If it weren't the first Hellboy movie, it would be so easy. And I hate just picking Hellboy because it's Del Toro. It's everything Del Toro that everyone has already said. that is such, for me, an immersive movie. I feel like it just jumps off the screen at me. I feel like it's almost like how they made Galaxy's Edge, where you can just go walk around Star Wars and you're like, oh my God, I'm in Star Wars. It's so there. I feel like I could just get up and walk and find somewhere and walk right into that universe. And I also can't understate enough how much I sat in the very back row in the corner. There were 2 other people in the theater when I saw the new Hellboy. How much I actively sobbed in disappointment. And I was texting Dan the whole time, and I was just like, what? Why?
That was you.
That was also me. I feel that in my soul.
You should have done Hellboy 2019 versus Rise of Skywalker. That would have been a debate.
Nah.
Oh golly, yeah. Ooh.
Everyone would
If
have
only
thrown
for
up.
the fact that, like, the super
Hellboy
sick
2019
imagery, like that
is
trailer, I'll admit it, I was just like so there. I was like, all right, this trailer is giving me everything I need in my Hellboy reboot that I never asked for, but that I'm okay with right now. And then I decided I wasn't okay with. So sadly, despite all of the love that I have for Ghost World so much, I'm going to vote for Hellboy. I hope that helped in some way.
Damn, Amaru.
What the hell is this?
Like
Jesus, Amaru. Jesus. All right.
All right, he's coming in
That's
carpet
fire.
bombing the
Wow.
chat there. All
Violence
right.
today.
Yep.
the woke though? Like,
Aggressive.
come on.
All right. Adam.
I'm going to start calling Rue Enid every time I see him now.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So Hellboy deserves its praise. Very cool movie. Some of the really, we all love Del Toro for sticking to his guns, especially when he leans into the practical. I see you. Yeah. All right, Enid. So the thing with Ghost World for me is very unique, special attachment to that movie. Went away one summer to summer camp, had a great summer. Friends at that camp told me about Ghost World, and I went and I found a DVD of it. And when I came back, and I fell in love with that movie. And I rewatched it a lot through high school, discovered the source material, and it's a movie I own. It's on my shelf. I rewatch it. This is apples and oranges to me, but I get that they're both based on comic books. But if you're going to force me to give you my honest opinion, my honest choice is Ghost World, because I love that movie. And Hellboy is great. And I think it's probably the best adaptation of that material we have so far. Personally, I just have a deeper personal attachment to the movie Ghost World. But because you do these mashups, my head goes to weird places, and now I really want to see Steve Buscemi play Hellboy. Please. Just in a sketch. Just give me that, full makeup, please. With the eyes. It has to.
All right, Jesse.
So I always feel really bad when it's one movie that I passionately love so much versus something I haven't gotten around to seeing yet. It's not a fun debate for me, and I feel bad for having a gimme vote, but we're here to be honest, and Hellboy is in my top 10 comic book movies of all time, not necessarily because I do think it's a very high quality movie, but it's what it kind of means to me. And it was the beginning of my obsession with the supernatural character, the Spawns, the Ghost Rider, the Constantine. It all started for me with that first Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movie. I can watch this movie over and over again. It was the first really dark comic book movie I saw as a kid, because I was 11. Yes, I was 11 when this came out.
You literally have the year on the computer right now for you. It's one of 4 movies that have the year next to them for you.
I was doing the math because I had to figure out 2004, 93. Yeah.
And we're also in a different time zone than you, Blunden. Give us a second.
Yeah, there's a lag. There's a lag going to Australia. I actually got it really
In
quick.
person, he did it so fast.
It's so fast. I love Hellboy, and I'll have things to say about Golden Army one way or the other once we get around to it. But I think this is a hot take, but aesthetically, what Guillermo did for Hellboy, I equate to what Burton did for Gotham City and Batman. It is, I believe, like Marisol said, just so immersive, and you're right there when you watch the film. I love how much he relied on practical effects. Even Samael, the Desolate One, the monster that he's fighting, when it has to be CGI, it's CGI. But when they're having the rock'em sock'em beat 'em up fights between Hellboy and him, it's a guy in a suit. And I really appreciate that because practical effects always age much better than old CGI. So Hellboy, 1,000 times over. Ghost World, I'm sorry, I'm sure you're a great movie. I'll add you at the top of the list. And especially after everything that everyone's saying, I feel bad not having much to say about it. But Hellboy was probably going to make it through unless it was one of my 9 other movies on my list.
All right. Marisol, do you want to? Do you know what you want to pick now?
I do. That was helpful. I calmed down. I had some metaphorical milk. I had a glass of milk. I thinking about it, you said the right word, the exact right keyword, Mara, with coming of age. And yeah, what I love about Enid is that it is coming of age. I don't know if I would go say she's a trash person, but she does learn that maybe her way isn't the way. Like she's so intolerant, and she finds that her way necessarily isn't. It's those kind of people hit a wall, and even when they're very young, those kind of people will hit a wall and have come to realize some kind of harsh reality, and she does in that film. If we were talking about coming of age films, that would be great. I didn't realize it was a comic book movie until not too long ago. So I got to factor that all in. Hellboy I always knew was a comic book. We're rating Comic-Con movies, and I got to put all these pieces together and talk about what brought a comic book to life for me overall between the two of them. So I got to go with Hellboy. If we were talking about like coming of age movies, Ghost World would be really putting up a really good fight. But we're talking about comic book adaptations, comic book movies. Got to give it to Del Toro and Hellboy.
All right. Well, with that, Hellboy 2004 makes it through. That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Next up, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse versus David Ayer's Warner Brothers Suicide Squad. Lauren, I'm going to start with you while you bash your head against Jesse.
Against the Jesse, that's correct.
Yeah.
I think I love Into the Spider-Verse as much as I hate Suicide Squad. If it were the new Suicide Squad, it would still be Into the Spider-Verse, but it would be closer. Suicide Squad was such a hot mess. Whereas Into the Spider-Verse was groundbreaking in so many ways. I immediately afterwards went and bought the art book and read it from start to finish in like an hour because I was so fascinated with how they made everything look the way that it did, and that they had like a 3D background and 2D characters in front of it. So there's like this crazy dimension to it that nobody's ever tried before. I think Into the Spider-Verse is, if not my favorite, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. I think it's one that's most true to the characters that it's about. I can't say enough about the quality of the animation. Sony really went for it. And after I saw that, I was like, ooh, Disney, take notes. They're doing things that you're not. They're moving up. The story is beautiful. The relationships, I think, are really personal and moving. I don't know what David Ayer would have done with more time or more control, but it wouldn't have been better than Into the Spider-Verse. So,
Jesse.
Hi. Sorry, the cat's being adorable right now. I just before someone beats me to it, a second for the soundtrack. Like it was around the time of Black Panther, and I remember everyone was like set on fire for the Black Panther soundtrack. But I've listened to the Spider-Verse soundtrack many, many times, working out, going on runs, skateboarding, just chilling in the house. It's a really good soundtrack. Suicide Squad wanted to have a good soundtrack, but so much of it just reminds you of how awkwardly placed everything was.
Well, it's like if you take your old middle school iPod and just like aggressively put it on shuffle.
Yeah. And I feel like Suicide Squad, it's dramatic to say, but it offended me with the characters that I enjoy. Like Harley Quinn, I think perfectly cast, terribly written. The Enchantress, it really just falls under its own weight, and everything is just left shallow. And yeah, maybe I know David Ayer wanted to do things with Steppenwolf. He wanted to do like a whole other movie, but it still wouldn't, I don't think, had the potential to be the revolutionary take that Spider-Verse was. And not only is it the best Spider-Man movie, it's one of the best Marvel movies. It's one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. I got choked up a couple different times. Mahershala Ali was so good as Aaron Davis.
I mean, a minute for the voice cast. Are you kidding me?
It's so
Oh my
good.
gosh.
So hopefully, there's so many things I'd love to say about Into the Spider-Verse, but it doesn't need to be wasted on the matchup with Suicide Squad. So I'm hoping I have the chance to do it on the next matchup.
Marisol.
I just have to. Okay.
Okay, Adam. Yep.
Look, I'm not trying to bury the lead here, but I think you're in for a treat with Marisol. So can I?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Adam, I'll go to you next.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Suicide Squad has its moments. I really want to hear what Marisol has to say, but I'm going to vote for Spider-Verse.
Jesus.
Mara.
Don't hype it up too much, buddy.
So I'd like to first just start off by saying I'm very, very excited to watch The Suicide Squad again for the first time, because apparently we watched it not one, not two, 3 different times during my early convalescence. And I remember this many, and this many things about it. And it's not spoilery, but I remember like one image. I remember one character that I liked because I apparently thought that character was very funny. And I remember one other set piece. That's all I remember from the movie. I don't remember anything else. So I'm very excited because not many people get to experience that movie 4 times for the first time. I'm one of them. So I'm going to watch it again, maybe even tonight, just because I kind of want to remember what I forgot 3 other times. Apparently I liked it. I don't know if it was drugs or not, because I was on all of the drugs. But that's not this movie, though. So a moment of silence for all of the helicopters that had to die to make David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I gotta say, I have a very interesting perspective on that Suicide Squad. Really, really didn't know what to think the first time I watched it. I didn't walk out liking it. I didn't walk out hating it. But it was kind of like that time where you're like sniffing the milk and you're like, is it bad? And do I want to taste it to find out? So I've gone back to that trough several times, and I rewatch it a lot, honestly. And I'm not saying it's good, but I like that kind of pain. That's Mara's kind of pain. That being said, I didn't in my life think that after Pixar innovated the medium of animation that I would see anything newer than that. And it was like a comic come to life in a way that I didn't even know was possible. Especially the scene in the collider at the very end. I mean, it's just so vivid, and there's a density of color, of movement. They still give you a sense of geography, even with the frenetic energy of what's going on. It's spectacular in all of the ways. And on my Oscar ballot, I literally wrote that I would commit homicide if it didn't win. So I'm very glad for all the people around me that I didn't have to murder anybody. And it really is tough, honestly. I think almost any movie legitimately could go up against Into the Spider-Verse. Almost any of them. There's probably about 5. And I would vote for Into the Spider-Verse. I think it is just superbly an almost flawless piece of film.
Taylor.
I remember we went to a very early screening.
Yeah, we saw it like a month and a half in advance.
Press screening for Into the Spider-Verse. And we walked out just like we had been punched. Like, we didn't know how to handle just how fantastic the movie was, because we were among some of the first people really to get to see it.
We weren't allowed to talk about
and
it.
we weren't
either.
allowed to talk about it for like a month. And I still just find myself astounded by the techniques that were used to make that movie, the things they had to create to make that movie. The story that you get out of it is just beautiful. Everyone's kind of said their piece that I agree with. I'm in a weird place with Suicide Squad because I'm in the very unpopular loner camp that I think I like Suicide Squad more now that I've seen The Suicide Squad, because I did not like The Suicide Squad, and I think I'd rather watch Suicide Squad to get enjoyment out of it personally if I was going to pick one to watch for fun. Which if you would have told me that, like, when Suicide Squad came out, that another one's going to come out made by James Gunn and you're going to prefer this one, I would be like, I'd just give up then. We're just, all right, I guess I'm never going to enjoy a Suicide Squad movie that comes out. I guess that's what's going to happen. So I'm in a weird place with that movie because there are a lot of things I enjoyed about Suicide Squad and a lot of things that really disappointed me about it. So I kind of left in a place where I was like, man, I had a lot of expectations for this movie, a lot of things I wanted it to be. There were things I felt they got very right about it and things that just made it hard for me to reconcile with the things that I liked. And if this was up against something else, maybe I'd have more to say about it, but it's up against Into the Spider-Verse, so I can't really get into that kind of conversation. But yeah, I'm having a really weird, this past week has put me in a really weird headspace after how much I didn't like The Suicide Squad. Now retroactively thinking about Suicide Squad, I've had a very strange week or so with that. So that's been a fun time for me.
All right, Marisol. What do you got?
No, I mean, should I speak? Because I don't want to lose friends, and I like you guys.
Look at
Hey, it doesn't matter what we think.
Yeah.
Well, in that case.
Um,
Yeah, like you look on the internet and like you can open Twitter and everybody's gonna be like, Suicide Squad is one of the worst superhero movies ever made, and it's like 1 billion likes, and everybody's like, yeah. And then it's like next to that, it's like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is one of the best superhero movies ever made, and there's 1 billion likes, and everybody's like, yeah. And I'm the chick who doesn't like either of those comments. Like I'm not gonna agree with either of those comments, and it feels so weird to say it when everybody only the most glowing, just most amazing, like there's no negatives ever said about, like, talk about a film there's no negatives ever said about ever. It's Into the Spider-Verse. No matter anybody I've ever talked to, nobody ever says anything slightly not positive about it. That's a little that's a lot. That's a lot for me to hear. Like, that's a lot. Like, I don't know. There's like The Godfather, and then apparently Into the Spider-Verse. Apparently, in the history of cinema, it's really simple. I didn't think I was epileptic until I saw this movie, and and now I'm not so sure, and I should probably see my doctor. I know everybody finds the animation so innovative and so breathtaking. I gotta tell you, sitting in the theater, I was nauseous and had a headache about 10 minutes into the Spider-Verse. I think the animation is an assault on the senses, and it's a little overbearing, and I don't even have the time to breathe when I watch that movie. It's not my kind of storytelling. It's breakneck, no seconds to breathe, no time to even process what you're seeing. ADD filmmaking. It's not my type. It's not my cup of tea. It moves too fast for its own good. It moves too fast for its own good. At the end, I felt like somebody had glued a kaleidoscope to my face, and it was malfunctioning, and I couldn't. And I was like, it was like Clockwork Orange. My eyes were just like stuck open, and I couldn't look away. It was such an assault on my senses. Maybe I guess I had a physical reaction to it. Most of my problems with Into the Spider-Verse are pretty technical. It was a lot for me. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
Don't be sorry.
No, seriously, don't be sorry. Everything you're saying makes complete and total sense.
I can't share everybody's unbridled, unquestionable enthusiasm about this film. I would love to see the story told by I would love to see the story told by somebody else. It just wasn't my cup of tea. It really wasn't, and it physically irritates my eyes watching this film. Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad has a really big share of problems and missteps with the characters and weird places and a lot of script interference, a lot of studio interference. It's not that often that you could feel that when you're watching a film, and you feel that tenfold while watching Suicide Squad. And when I start to feel those kind of things, like I felt with something like Hancock, a movie that I thought had a lot of potential and then got derailed when the studio tried to turn it into like take the script in like 4 different directions and turn it into something else. I feel that with Suicide Squad. So I feel like more bad for it than I actually am angry at it when I watch it. Because I think they were given all the goods, and that is such a terrific cast. We got Suicide Squad gave us Margot Robbie, guys, and it gave us Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. Jai Courtney, who I've never liked in anything until Suicide Squad. like that's a miracle in and of itself when like Jai Courtney Jai Courtney is like not the worst part of a film, and he actually, you give the guy the right role, he's actually he can turn it into a character. I don't love Suicide Squad by any stretch of the imagination, but I do not at all share the hatred that it seems to be the whole world thinks it's just this piece of dog trash and poop and
poop.
But and when I stack those two together, I'll be that vote, even though it doesn't matter at this point, but I'll be that vote, and I'm going to vote for Suicide Squad because I've watched it more times than Into the Spider-Verse, and it's very flawed, but it doesn't make me angry, and I just think about all the things that could have been while I watch it. And I think about, Cara Delevingne's goofy little the little belly dancing enchantress thing that she does in that. And I'll watch it again. Screw it. I'll watch, Cholo.
I am down for the Marisol hot takes. Well done.
I just want to say, if nobody here has stopped being my friend for all of my Back to the Future hot takes, I think you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, you are definitely gonna be all good.
I mean, that actually helps me understand more why I like it so much, because I'm colorblind. So the fact that I see so much in it actually makes me understand why you see too much in it. So I love hearing the other side of something because it can help me understand why I like something, even if it's something that you really, really didn't enjoy. That's why I think there's so much valid discussion between people that respect each other but that disagree.
That is interesting. I wonder how your dad would feel about it, actually.
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next one. This should be a bit more of a palate cleanser. Jonah Hex versus Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, I don't know.
Adam, I'm going to start with you.
All right. Well, if Jimmy Hayward were here tonight, he would tell you to lay some respect on something that's not the movie he directed. Look, first and fourmost, I just want to apologize to Marisol. I got really excited for her take. I may or may not have heard her make a really convincing case about why Into the Spider-Verse may not be like everything we all talk about all the time. And honestly, I just wanted to kick back and hear her let it rip. So, Marisol,
I'm the only one in the world who has his opinion, so it's cool.
No, I'm just sorry. I got a little excited there. So with Jonah Hex and Thor: The Dark World, so everyone likes to dogpile on Thor: The Dark World. Worst MCU movie. In a way, like I appreciate its Shakespearean ambitions. Alan Taylor is a functional director when it comes to like television. And he has a long resume of Game of Thrones episodes that are quite enjoyable. Between if it were between like Thor: The Dark World and Terminator Genesis, I think I Dark World all the way. Jonah Hex is not good, but But the thing I like about Jonah Hex is it's 80 minutes and it's fast and it's silly. And this is another thing, like Rise of Skywalker, I said, makes a great heavy metal music video. Marisol and Jacob and other people in Corruption have heard me talk about Jonah Hex and how I'm like, I want the silent movie version of Jonah Hex with title cards and like black and white and like cool music because I think it would be awesome. I think that Jonah Hex, like visually, has some good stuff to it when it's lit well. Anyway, and I always like John Malkovich swinging for the fences. But Thor: The Dark World, even though it's muted and not a whole lot of fun, it's for some reason it's this really pivotal moment in the Marvel universe where we keep coming back to it. And it's
you
like,
remember this
hey,
damn movie.
You have to go back and watch Thor: The Dark World, people. But it's not an unwatchable movie to me, and I like the Dark Elves visually. I think they look pretty cool. But Jonah Hex is not a complete pile of dog trash and poop. It is actually just slightly shitty. And I think Thor: The Dark World is dull but watchable. So Thor: The Dark World is my vote.
Mara.
I have a much more favorable take on Thor: The Dark World than most people, and it is by far not my least favorite MCU film. I have the notoriously unpopular opinion that Captain Marvel is my least favorite MCU film. So, and I gotta say, I know that between poor writing, subpar direction, I was very disappointed that Christopher Eccleston didn't get more to do because he is one of my favorite actors. He is also in the upper echelon of some of my favorite doctors. I don't have any real grievances with Jonah Hex, but I find that I actually revisit Thor: The Dark World frequently. I don't know if that's necessarily because I thoroughly love it, but I wouldn't go back to it for no reason at all, because I definitely don't have any inner geekdom reason to watch it. A, because my season's over, and B, because, I mean, what more is there to study from that film than what they've already asked? But I do watch it quite frequently, so simply from just the empirical data that's given from my experience, I'm going to say Thor: The Dark World. I don't need to belabor the point.
All right, Marisol.
Do I think that Jonah Hex is probably like actually a worse film, a poor example of adapting material in a way that makes fans want to then seek the material? Yeah. But it's interesting. When I watch Jonah Hex, all I thought of was when I'm watching, all I think of is like, oh, I'm sure the comic book is better. You know, I'm like, this is pretty interesting. I'm sure the comic book does this better because this seems pretty incompetent as a film, just as a film. So, and then when I watched Thor: The Dark World, knowing where Thor is coming from, I feel like when I watch that, I'm like, the first film was already stronger, so I'm just like, okay, well, you had already something you were working with good here, and then you turned it into something like, for me, very forgettable and very like just dreary. I remember so little from Thor: The Dark World because it was just a step down for me after the first Thor. And I don't want to say that we're boring exactly, but just like should have had more impact, like you're saying, like Mara, with Christopher Eccleston as villain, just should have had more impact. And I couldn't even tell it was him first off underneath the makeup, but like should have had more impact. And I have so little latching onto it. And at least with Jonah Hex, I have like it still made me interested in going to the source material, and it still has a much better cast, for me, I think, than more impressive performers in it than Thor: The Dark World. So that kind of makes it a novelty. So I don't think highly of either of these films, but I do love Fassbender. and he's only in one of these films. So that might be my deal breaker. That's going to be my tiebreaker there. One of these films is Michael Fassbender, and that's the little thirst demon. She's waking up over here. She just woke up and she said Jonah Hex.
I have to follow that because my entire argument of what I'm picking is based solely on thirst. Like 100%. That is the only reason I'm choosing what I'm choosing here. And I'm just going for it. I don't care. Loki is exactly everything I need for thirst. Okay, that is all moisture. I don't care. Whatever he's in, like it's just that's everything that appeals to me as a person.
We need to discuss Crimson Peak, Taylor.
Yes.
Jacob, you working on your cosplay, buddy?
I think that Taylor's speaking right to my soul.
Get yourself some horns, man.
I can't even begin to discuss what Crimson Peak does to me. Just anyway, we're not going to get into that. That's a whole different thing. But this movie is like everything I need from Loki aesthetically. You have him flirting and having sexual chemistry with everyone. He's like, Sif? Yeah, sure. Jane, I know you're with Thor, but whatever. Like, come on. Like, it's just a whole thing. And I would never want to watch Jonah Hex ever again. So just give me where I can just watch Loki and just be about it. And so that's why I'm picking Thor: The Dark World.
Laura.
I feel like I'm in good company then because I don't think Thor: The Dark World is a strong movie, but I've told Jesse many times one of my biggest what's the word I'm looking for? Arguments for it is Loki. I think it's some of the best Loki we've ever gotten. I mean, besides looks wise, he gets to be like way more mischievous and funny than most other things.
It's kind of the beginning of his real arc.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. Yes, the villain is weak. The story is but oh my gosh, Jonah Hex. I told Jesse about 20 minutes in, I'm like, wow, everybody's really given little to no effort, aren't they? Everybody is technically on set, I guess. The only one who really put in any effort was Michael Fassbender, and we love him for that. We always love Fassbender. Megan Fox existed in that movie. Now, I do think she gets too much hate as a person, but she didn't do anything. Nobody really did, except Michael Fassbender. And so even though it's not my favorite Marvel movie, it's not my favorite Thor movie, I still think it's better than Jonah Hex.
Jesse?
So I don't feel super strongly about these movies. We did just watch Jonah Hex recently, so it's right up there. I think Josh Brolin was the choice for Jonah Hex. I wish they would have given him more to do and given him more of a chance, but looks, voice, mannerisms, and every time he just went, "Nah." I was like, yeah, you got it. You nailed it. Give him the Oscar already. Josh Brolin as Jonah Hex to me is very much like Geralt in The Witcher, and I love that feeling of it. Most of the rest of the movie, I wouldn't say falls apart, but just doesn't seem to matter. It's kind of middling and just happens. Then you get to the end of the movie. I don't find it offensively bad. I think when I first saw it when I was much younger, I put it in my head that it was an awful, awful movie. And then I rewatched it, I was like, no, it's just kind of a nothing movie. I don't feel strong enough to have a real big opinion about it. Thor: The Dark World has a lot of really bad moments, a lot of cringy stuff. It's not great. It's probably my bottom 5 Marvel, but it's not the bottom. And then we got to talk about Hiddleston. So for me, it's a battle of moments. And you take all the greatest Loki moments. If you look at it kind of like a Marvel comedy, I feel like it works a little better. There's just more that stands out in The Dark World than Jonah Hex. And for that reason, I believe it has enough merit to continue on to the next round. And I'm sure that's probably it, but we'll see.
All right. Well, with that, Thor: The Dark World moves on. I didn't miss anyone, did I? No. Okay. I'm like, hang on. Did I miss anyone this round? All right. With that, Thor: The Dark World does move on. We are halfway through the show, guys. So, all right. Next up,
today.
we're talking today, which is good. We've had some matchups today, which is good. All right. Prometheus versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Actually, I'm going to start here this time. The only reason is because, like Marisol, I think I have the weird opinion. The odd opinion. I really, really, really do not like Guardians Volume 2. I walked out of that going, this movie's trying way too hard to be funny. It is trying really hard to recapture the magic of the first film. But I also am not the biggest fan of Prometheus either. So this isn't a really easy matchup for me, but I am going to pick Prometheus because for as much problems as I have with that movie, with the story that it's trying to tell visually, it is stunning. And I could just watch that movie just for the visuals alone. So I am going to go with Prometheus. Taylor.
Okay, so like we talked about with Predator-verse earlier, Prometheus is the first Alien-verse film that I ever saw. So, yes, I know. I have some wild movie watching stories.
I find this thrilling.
So I got dragged to Prometheus with a bunch of my friends because I was like, I have no need to see this movie. I've never seen an alien. Like, I just didn't know what was going on with it. I had no need to see it. Got dragged to it by a bunch of people who were really excited about it, and I left as the only person who liked it. So
Incredible.
I went into it with no idea about anything that it was like based on or like what story it was trying to continue telling or anything about it. But now having seen everything in the Alien and Predator verse, I'm going to keep calling it that. That's the name I'm going with. It's one of my favorites of all of them. Still, I think it's probably the third best Alien verse movie in my opinion. And I have a lot of fun with it. I think visually it's stunning. I love the cast. It's just the right amount of gross, I think, for these kind of movies. And I'm kind of actually like happy that it was the first one that I ever saw. Just because I have a really personal kind of connection with it. Like, it's the one that got me excited to, which I know probably sounds so weird, but seeing Prometheus is the one that got me excited to actually go back and watch what it was based off of and where it was coming from. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I don't mind it. I have a lot of fun with it, but I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy also aren't my favorite MCU movies. I enjoy them enough. I would die for Groot, but other than that, like I think they're fun enough and the characters are cool, but it's not a difficult one for me to pick Prometheus.
Mara.
Pass.
Okay. I will come back to you, actually. Jesse.
Man, I've really been mulling this over because, as anyone that's been on Twitter knows, because of you guys, we watched Prometheus for the first time last night. It is a movie that I wouldn't say actively avoided, but it just
Kind of slipped by us.
Yeah, it slipped by, but also it's been presented to me several times, and I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I'm just not that invested in that world. For the vast majority of the film, I really liked it a lot, actually. And I was like, this is cool. And we were thinking about watching Alien Covenant today. We just didn't get around to it. I know that's probably the disappointing sequel, but that's the mindset we were in. I like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 much more than most people do. I do think it's a step down from the first film. And this is actually kind of hard. It's a hard choice for me. It's weird because Prometheus is so right here right now. It's hard to say what's memorable about that movie because right now the whole movie is, but we'll see how I feel like a year down the road. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I remember a lot. I liked Ego. I thought that was an interesting take for a villain, an interesting direction to go. We get some really great Yondu moments, and we get the original Ravagers. There's a lot of stuff I like in that. But I'm trying to think brackets. I'm trying to think the whole tournament here. And we got like 25 Marvel films or 24 Marvel films. There's so many chances for them to continue on. and there's really less than a handful, I think, of good Alien Predator movies. So, with begrudgingly, I think I'm going to say Prometheus.
I just love how we've used that argument so many times already of,
You
there's
have to sometimes.
5
It's a
Marvel
deciding
movies.
factor.
Something's going to make it through. Like, we've used that argument so many times. We could get to the end of round 1 and something doesn't make it through. Adam, I'm going to go to you.
Yeah, so the difficult thing with this is I think they're both mixed bag movies, and I don't hate either of them at all. I'd be happy to rewatch both of these movies on a rainy day. With Guardians, it did feel like going back to the well, to your point, Jacob, in a lot of ways. Although that's what a lot of people were signing up for. They wanted to be back with these characters. They wanted more of the same jokes. And since that movie has come out, I think it's set up things in the larger story that have been interesting to come back to. It's introduced us to some new characters, which is fun. It gave us Kurt Russell in the Marvel universe, which even though he was a huge dick, I really like Kurt Russell, so I was just excited to see him. And his beard was awesome in that movie. That's just, his beard alone was planetary. But with Prometheus, I just really like its ambition. I don't think, I think it gets too much heat for being a backdoor Alien prequel, because when you watch Alien Covenant and you go back to the original movie, I think it hits on a lot of the same themes in interesting ways. And I do think that the production design is immaculate. So if it were pure ambition and, everything, I'd have to give it to Prometheus. For me, I do like Guardians 2 more than most people. I understand why people are critical of it. But of all the current iteration of Marvel movies, I do go back to that one more often. And I think Prometheus is. Let me just put it this way. I rewatched Guardians 2 more, and I think Prometheus is unfairly maligned. So you're putting me through it, Jacob. I'll say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. All right. There you go.
Lauren.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was one of the first Marvel movies where Jesse and I differed quite a bit. I didn't like it very much. As somebody who really, really loved the first one, it kind of felt like they took a lot of it and did it worse. I thought in the first one, Star-Lord, his personality is like a little grating, but he's still lovable. Oh, what's happening here?
We're all good. We're good.
Sorry.
Stuff.
Whereas I thought in Volume 2, they really doubled down on Star-Lord just being a grating personality. And so it's not my favorite to rewatch. I think it has good moments. And are you trying to show them what's going on?
I was thinking about
Go
it, but no, they broke up. It's fine.
I think it does some things really well, but for the most part, it's not one of my favorites. I really enjoyed Prometheus. It definitely goes really heavy in on the religious themes. Hi, buddy.
Pay attention to me, damn it. I just need to pass the room.
Afterwards, I think I told Jesse that I had one major issue with it, and it's the scene where Dr. Shaw is talking about how she can't conceive, and it turns into a sex scene.
So Holloway was the other one?
Yeah, there's nothing sexy about talking about being barren, you guys. That's not how that works. And so that was one of my main, okay, that was not my favorite. But like other people said, the cinematography is outstanding. It's a really visually stunning film. I thought they were ambitious, and I thought they pulled a lot of it off. So I'm gonna say Prometheus.
All right, Marisol.
Yeah, interesting matchup for sure. I just love, as somebody who loves like just world building and storytelling and build up. I love the first like hour of Prometheus. Love it. And then after that is where the filmmakers are like, wait. This is an alien movie. like come on, man. Like come on, Ridley. Like I know engineers are cool. This is cool, but like come on, people got to die. Scientists, these unbelievably intelligent, amazing, super learned, super educated scientists, they got to do some dumb shit to put themselves in danger. They got to die. Like, you know, like all of a sudden it's just like you could just see another one of these films where you could just see the conflicts in the writing room and everybody was just like, wait, we got to get this part in. No, I don't care if it doesn't have anything to do with like what just came before it. We got to get this part in the movie. And how disjointed the last like 50 minutes or whatever, 45 minutes of that movie betrays so much of the very focused, very atmospheric build of the first like hour of that movie. And that's frustrating when I watch it, but I enjoy it so much, and overall, I still really enjoy it. I'm a defender of Prometheus, and I guess it's a weird. It doesn't sound like high praise, but when the top two are really amazing, yeah, it's the third best Alien movie in the Alien universe, and that is high praise considering how terrific the first two are. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 just loses the balance of the group. Way too much, what you're saying, way too much Star-Lord. It loses the group, the balance, the whole dynamic, the whole group. Baby Groot is cute. But I'm a Grinch when I know that when something is specifically being packaged and being put in my face and being, look how cute it is. Grogu is the only one who can accomplish that. Okay. All right. Baby Groot, you're no Grogu. Though they would make great roomies in the spinoff series. But Baby Groot is still great in small doses. Movie focuses way too much on Star-Lord. Hits a lot. What are you guys saying? Hits the same beats with the jokes. And I just think spends too long with the ego story. I think there should have been a little more balance in the screenplay there. Both movies have screenwriting issues, as far as I'm concerned. Prometheus is just too many ideas, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many ideas, too many directions they wanted to take that film. And it was Ridley's return to the Alien franchise. There was so much pressure on Prometheus to be amazing. And Ridley has so much ambition behind it. You could still see that filmmaker from the 70s in there. I would absolutely rather watch Prometheus than Guardians of the Galaxy. It is, like you guys are all saying, the cinematography is just off the charts. It is so gorgeous and so thematically rich and complex. And even if it doesn't completely achieve what it's setting out to do, the ambition has to be admired. And there's just so much to mine from it. And Fassbender, y'all.
Yes.
We don't get two Fassbenders, but it is still what gave us maybe the best android of the whole series. Certainly one of the most complex and one of the most interesting storylines with an android in the Alien series. David is awesome, and talk about an A-list cast and A-list casts in this film. Prometheus is my pick.
All right, Mara.
I'm very relieved. I didn't want to be the linchpin to Prometheus moving forward because I was honestly afraid of not being judged, but just being very, very out to lunch compared to everyone else. And I don't hate Guardians 2. I share a lot of the same criticisms. Oh, hello. Of other people. Mostly for me, just from a narrative standpoint, because the MCU, though I wish that it had room for it, is not a film that their films are not character studies. Their films are narratively based, and just structurally, It did feel like it was a bit ham-fisted to have the Sovereign as a framing device, almost solely to introduce Adam at the end. And I don't know, it just felt very, very loose just to get us to Ego. And though I think Kurt Russell can absolutely almost entirely carry a film based on sheer charisma and beard girth, the fact that it was a movie that both single-handedly tackled mommy and daddy issues was too much for me and my frail psyche that has both mommy issues with 2 dead moms and daddy issues with 2 very alive dads. So too much for me. But I'm thoroughly thrilled and breathtaking every time I watch Prometheus because of the score. The score to that film is brilliant. It's big when it needs to be big. It's small when it needs to be small. Every other visual that people have described, I agree very much with. And I've very much come around to it from a world building standpoint. I think that it threaded the needle just enough for me between needing to be what it didn't want to be and being what it became. Alien Covenant is where I got very much lost, and I was like, all right, I'm not picking up what you're putting down here, Ridley, but I'm very much on board to rewatch this movie at length and discuss it at length. And I know that that's maybe not necessarily exactly what everyone said, but I think there's enough of what other people said that I feel very comfortable saying this now. So thank you for validating me.
I think we all found like, okay, this is actually the right group for Prometheus. I think this is very much the right group for Prometheus. So that's good. All right. Well, with that, Prometheus does.
I once again don't have to cry. So we're doing great.
This is the first upset for me, by the way. So this is the first one that I actually think I didn't expect to go through. So well done, everyone. I didn't expect Prometheus to go through.
Otherwise, it might have gone the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with that, Prometheus makes it through. I'm very happy with that. Next up, we have X-Men Origins Wolverine versus the Phantom. Taylor, I'm going to let you start.
Oh no, this is a bad decision. Okay. As someone who just watched the Phantom for the first time, I am very high on this movie. I enjoy it very much. Yes, I think it's a lot of fun. It's got some badass female characters in it. It's got a skin-tight purple bodysuit that is doing a lot of work that I enjoy. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect going into it because no one ever talks about it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I dig everything that's happening right now. So that's I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet, and that's what I'm gonna go with.
Mara.
I'm actually much more lenient towards X-Men Origins Wolverine than most. I like that it features some less common mutants, even if they weren't necessarily done exemplary do there. But I just have to point out, just from a thirst standpoint, we got almost entirely nude Hugh Jackman in this movie. And that is something that we should cherish always. So the moisture farmer is back. As I pointed out in the private chat, I've pilled up. There was some ice cream. There was some pain medicine crushed gently over it like a beautiful little garnish. And I'm feeling somewhat better because I popped out a stitch earlier when I tried to eat a little tiny bit of soft bread, and that was a bad idea.
Ooh.
Bread is at least 2 to 3 weeks out, I think, from here. But butts are here. Butts are here to stay. Butts. Thirst. X-Men Origins Wolverine. I can keep going.
Sorry, Marisol.
Man, you want to see some Jackman butt? You got to rewatch Days of Future Past. There's some prime cheeks in that movie. All right.
Prime
That is, yeah. That being said, all the Hugh Jackman butt cheeks in the world cannot salvage X-Men Origins Wolverine. This movie is so. Like, God, there's an exchange with like Sabretooth when they're like about to go at each other in the bar, and it's just like I'm sorry, like I'm including like Batman and Robin in this list. It is like one of the dumbest exchanges of dialogue I've ever heard in a film. It's just like, oh, like it is just, it's, God. So this movie is a walking parody. Like it just doesn't even understand how much of a parody of itself it is. Like whenever you ever seen, what is it from SNL? What is it? What is the bit where it's like, cool guys don't look at explosions? What is that where it does like a montage? It's making fun of like guys walking away from explosions. And Wolverine does it like twice in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He throws a cigar and just like walks away in slow motion as a helicopter blows up behind him. And I'm just like, this is, oh God. Where to begin? I mean, I guess I began somewhere. There's X-Men Origins is absolutely the most embarrassing X-Men movie. Absolutely. It's up there with maybe one of the most embarrassing comic book movies I've ever seen. Just misses it. It's not trying to be tongue in cheek. It doesn't even, like I said, it's self-parody. It doesn't even realize how silly it is. Don't get me started on, I don't know how much cocaine they were doing in the writer's room when they wrote Wade Wilson, when they wrote the Deadpool bit. They were like, guys,
So much.
what if we sewed his mouth shut? It's just, oh, it's just every bad idea, every very goofy, very silly, very really goofy action set piece that they didn't even have the budget to do, so the CGI just looks really poor. Wolverine X, it's embarrassing. I'm sorry, it's one of my least favorite superhero movies ever. I'm actively embarrassed for the people who made it when I watch it. I just really don't like it. The Phantom is fun. I have a lot of memories. I have a lot of memories from my childhood. Do I think it's an amazing film? No. I think but it captures, it's obviously made with serious adoration for the Indiana Jones series, in its heart and its head. Billy Zane is no Harrison Ford, but it's a different hero and it's a different story. And I was really a sucker for that and like Mask of Zorro. They came out very like a few years within each other. And I was really a big sucker for these period piece, old fashioned, which kind of the Rocketeer started in the 90s, which is period piece, old fashioned adventure heroes. These like not superheroes, but heroes, like the equivalent of if Spider-Man existed in like whatever the 1920s or something like that, like their version of Spider-Man, like these kind of heroes. And I think the Phantom scratches that itch of a kind of area that we don't see that often in terms of hero stories and these kind of adaptations. Treat Williams is just eating scenery. He is just chewing that setup left and right. Treat Williams is great in The Phantom. He is relishing being the villain in that movie, and it's so obvious. I never forgot the part where like he has like the like daggers coming out of the like I guess like the microscope or whatever. And he's like, yeah, go take a look. And yeah, the guy looks at, I was like, as a kid, I was just like, that was so diabolical to me. I was just that was such a definitive moment of like villainy for me in like a movie. I thought that was so evil. I have some pretty fond memories of The Phantom. I'm not saying like rush to go see it tomorrow, but it will surprise you. It's a good time. I'm surprised that Joe Johnston didn't direct that because it has like the Captain America, the First Avenger, the Rocketeer vibes really in that movie. Both that and Mask of Zorro have Catherine Zeta-Jones, so that's pretty cool. That's it. The Phantom.
Jesse.
I was spacing out. I was fully into that dissection of movies. So that I don't get put on a stake, I won't defend X-Men Origins, but like I don't hate watch it in the way that other people do. Although like I'm very, very personally hurt by the treatment of Deadpool. I don't know what they were thinking in this movie. It's nothing about it is entertaining that was intended to be entertaining. It's like for all the opposite reasons that I can still watch it, with the exception of Liev Schreiber as Victor Creed I think the dialogue may have been often really bad, but I think it's hard to argue that that wasn't a pretty good choice, conceptually, at least for the character. Then you got the CGI clause. Cuckoo Cuckoo got screwed is always the line I'm going to say the most from that movie. It's a hot mess. The Phantom, and I've seen X-Men Origins far more times than I've seen the Phantom, but I did rent the Phantom from the library as a kid, and I remember being really fun. And it wore its heart on its sleeve and knew what it was. And you can't fault a movie for knowing what it was and embracing it. X-Men Origins had no idea what to do or what it was or what kind of film it was supposed to be. It's just like, you like Wolverine, you buy tickets. Good. And there was just, yeah. With the success of the Origin comic that came out not too long before, they're like, Wolverine Bone Claws, that equals success. And they continued to try to shove that down our throats for like half the X-Men franchise moving forward. Nauseating. Anyways, all that to say, the Phantom, please and thank you. Will.i.am and the Blob cannot save X-Men Origins.
Adam.
X-Men Origins Wolverine is like a really long fart. Yeah, it stinks, but it makes me laugh. And but the Phantom,
Oh my god.
I look, Marisol, I'm gonna respectfully disagree. Go out right now and watch the Phantom. Do it. Go spend I think it's like literally 99 cents on Amazon, if that. Like, go watch it. Because the Phantom is like that last gasp from that era of filmmaking. Mask of Zorro was this subtle reboot, even though it came out like 2 years later. Like, Mask of Zorro was like our first step towards the 21st century in that tradition, if that makes any sense. Because, like, I feel like Mask of Zorro is a distinct step up from the Phantom. But the Phantom is great because Billy Zane is dressed like a grape and he's riding a horse and he's punching a whole army of evil Indiana Joneses led by James Remar and Treat Williams' name is Xander Drax. He has all the X's in his name. I really enjoy the Phantom, and I think people are doing themselves a disservice if they don't see it. If they just see it at its face value and they're going to be like, oh, this is kind of a dumb movie. What people need to realize is the Phantom is a character that really, paved the way for a lot of modern superheroes, and that's why they made an effort to give him his own movie. And I honestly would love to see the Phantom make it back into live action. I don't need a dark, gritty Phantom remake where he's got like holes in his spandex. I just need a movie where they maintain the tradition of him, like showing up and like maybe being this mystical force and stuff like that. It is the Indiana Jones movie that didn't quite happen. And it'll probably lose in the next round, but I'm glad it went up against X-Men Origins because the Phantom is my vote.
As someone who didn't see the Phantom until a couple of days ago at 27 years old, I will also say, please go watch the Phantom. I feel disserviced by everyone in my life that hasn't told me to watch it until this point. So please go watch it right now, immediately.
Lard.
I kind of had a crisis this week because with the whole bracket, this is where I had the most blind spots of things I hadn't watched. I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to take me seriously. They're going to think I don't know anything. It sounds like I need to watch The Phantom, so I will. I wish to never see X-Men Origins ever again. It makes me unhappy. It makes my brain frown, and I don't like it. So if
your fiance behind you at the moment.
Word for it, if Phantom is a good time, then it has my vote.
All right. I just want to say Phantom obviously has my vote because it was filmed in my hometown. So
Brisbane, Australia.
So yeah, it has my vote.
Hell yeah.
All right. With that, Phantom does make it through. We say goodbye to X-Men Origins Wolverine and the Merc with the mouth who has it stitched up. Let's go.
And Marisol, Jacob, we made Mike happy. He'll be
We
pleased.
did.
Yes.
We did. After last week of getting rid of the shadow, we made Mike happy.
Yeah. We gotta let him know.
All right.
It's true.
Scott
I do still
Pilgrim
want to see a
versus
Gambit
the
movie.
World.
We got to see a Gambit movie. That's the most we've ever seen Gambit, at least in a film. Unfortunately, it was played by Taylor Kitsch, but at least we got Gambit in some shape or form in a film, and I really, really want a Gambit movie.
Next up, we have Scott Pilgrim versus the World versus Fantastic Four 2005. Lauren, I am going to start with you.
Oh boy, what a matchup. I think I'm in the vast majority of people who actually get enjoyment out of the first Fantastic Four. I don't think it's great, but I think it's better than people give it credit for. Besides Jessica Alba, I think it was casted really well. I think the story was fun. I think they captured the family dynamic of the Fantastic Four really, really well. Obviously, it has weaknesses. Could we maybe not start with Doom? That would be great. Build up to that. I think people crap on it too much. I think it's better than it gets credit for. That being said, I love Scott Pilgrim. Everybody in that movie is great. Yeah, I mean, you get Chris Evans and Brie Larson and Brandon Routh all in the same movie. How can you say no?
Mae Whitman.
Exactly. So, I just wanna throw a little bit of love towards Fantastic Four because I think people are too hard on it, but I am picking Scott Pilgrim.
Adam.
Yeah, not the cakewalk people might assume for me. I don't think Fantastic Four is great, but I do think it's the best Fantastic Four movie we have so far. And I'm eager to see it eclipsed. But that said, I still think visually and character-wise, I think it captures a lot of the classic comic books. It's not a very compelling movie to watch in terms of what the stakes. Everything feels kind of fluffy. The thing with that for me, I just never.
Adam, I think we're losing you. I think your internet's playing up.
Testing.
I will come back to you.
Okay.
Say something longer than testing.
Hey, can you hear me? I am speaking.
Oh, okay.
There you
We're back.
go.
We're back. There we go. We're back.
All right. All I was saying is I'm not as high on Scott Pilgrim as a lot of people are. I don't dislike the film at all. I think it's quite clever. I think it's visually dynamic. I think the funniest moment for me is Chris Evans coming out on the skateboard to the Universal theme. That gets me every time. It's a movie that's going to probably make it to the next round, and people can heap praise on it. I think it's fun, but this movie gets referenced a lot, more than I personally enjoy. Not because I'm mad that people enjoy this movie, but like people are like, oh, remember that time Gideon Graves threw coins at Knives Chow, and then an arcade machine fell on Sex Bomb. I know all the references in the movie, but like I've seen it like twice, and I probably like it more than Marisol likes Into the Spider-Verse, but I'm not super high on this movie, and I think Fantastic Four is enjoyably mediocre. But Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I'll give it to you. There you go.
Adam, I'm with you. I think Scott Pilgrim is a good movie, not a great movie.
It causes a lot of divide in this house.
It does.
And it makes
It causes a lot of yeah. Speaking of, okay, fine. Have you run up? Come on.
God, honestly. So I do agree. I think 2005 Fantastic Four is the best Fantastic Four we have at this point. I enjoy it a lot. Is it perfect? No, but give me shirtless Chris Evans on fire. Like, I don't know what else. Like, what more do you want from me at that point? Like, sign me up. Sign me up for that one. But we also get Chris Evans and Scott Pilgrim versus the World as Lucas Lee. So he has a lot to deal with over here. Look, I think Scott Pilgrim versus the World came out at the right time in my life for me to really latch onto it for a lot of reasons. I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I enjoy Edgar Wright movies and the way that he makes movies quite a lot. So I think that also really played into how much I like this movie. Getting Brie Larson just doing what she does in this movie is just everything I could possibly want. We finally got her full version of the song. Finally came out this year. So there's that. That feels like a personal reward to me for waiting 10 years to get to that point. But I love the ensemble cast in Scott Pilgrim. I think are all great. I think the humor is exactly what I like. One of my personal favorite scenes that kills me every time is when Scott jumps out the window and just like, oh no, you just missed him. He's not here, as you watch him jumping out of the window to get out of the situation he doesn't want to be in. But there's just a lot of little moments like that really resonate with me. I really enjoy it aesthetically. The decisions that they made of the storytelling. I think that Scott Pilgrim as a character is the literal worst, and I think the movie does a great job of showing you why he's the literal worst and why you should just love all of the women in the movie instead, because they're awesome and they put up with him at some point in their lives. So that's great. And I don't know. I have a lot of love for the movie. I get if it's not something that people personally enjoy, but from the moment that I saw it where I was at in my life, I was like, yep, this is everything that I want. And I was like, yep, I'm just going to dye my hair every color that there ever is. And that's just how we're going to do this. So there we go.
Mara.
By the way, Andrew took the words out of my mouth. I also think that The Incredibles is the best Fantastic Four movie we have so far. I agree that I think 2005's Fantastic Four is somewhat unfairly maligned, but I think because I forget the exact words that Adam used, but something about adequate mediocrity, something of that nature. Those are the two most perfect words I've ever heard.
Adorably mediocre. I don't know, something like that.
Perfect. It's just quintessential to that movie. And like I said, I enjoy it. It's fine, especially for 2005. 2005 was a very different time. We hadn't yet been fully steeped in like the shift over into the darker superhero films, and we weren't anywhere near the MCU yet, so it was fine. But I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm also a huge Edgar Wright fan. I also agree Scott Pilgrim is the absolute worst, and I like neither the original ending, the ending we got. I like the ending that I have in my headcanon, which is he ends up with no one and he ends up alone because he's the fucking worst.
That is the headcanon right there. Yep.
Also, I'd like to point out that whoever said it, and I feel like I should know who it is because it's one of the nicest compliments I've ever received. Maybe like my 4th or 5th match in, someone said that I was the Ramona Flowers of the Schmodown because I constantly showed up with different hair, and I was like, my God. If someone thinks I have anything in common with a Mary Elizabeth Winstead character, I'm thoroughly enchanted by that. So for all the reasons everyone stated and more, including all of the Chris Evans. But for me also, I'm a big Jason Schwartzman person. I don't know what it is about the characters he plays. They're all just like slimy and terrible, and I love all of them, and I want all of them to be my friend. So I'm also the worst. But yeah, check.
Marisol.
I'm not even gonna look. We'll save the Scott, but I'll dive further into Scott Pilgrim inevitably in the next round. But look, I if there's one thing I will change about Scott Pilgrim, there's very, very extremely little / nothing except for one thing, and I was skeptical of that. Was the one thing when I heard the movie was coming out. When I heard Michael Cera was cast as Pilgrim, I was like, that's not the right move. And I was very skeptical. I was super, super skeptical. It was Ben Affleck as Batman or before it even, like, you know, like whatever, 7 years prior. That being said, is Michael Cera Scott Pilgrim in my mind? No, but he got it done in the film. He got it done. He captured, like everybody said, you want to punch that little dweeb in the face through most of the movie, and that is absolutely what that character is supposed to be, and that is effective. Michael Cera gets it done in that sense. Scott Pilgrim. I'll keep it really short. Scott Pilgrim is, and this is even in looking at all of the Edgar Wright films, Scott Pilgrim sits atop the rest of them as being like just absolutely orgasmic to an editor. Like that is an editor's wet dream, a film like Scott Pilgrim. It inspires me. I do a little editing. And it is one of the most, it is absolutely the top of the list of the most inspirational films when I look at editing and film. It is just pitch perfect, beat by beat by beat by millisecond, like so meticulous in how sublimely edited that film is. It is next level, and it should be a landmark editing film, benchmark of how excellent, how perfectly it can be done. Look at that! Look. If anybody knows something about editing, it's Nerd Chronic. He gets it. Yeah, that's the most I'll say about it for now. It is so unbelievably Scott Pilgrim. You guys have already made what defenses you can make for Fantastic Four. I really like how well everybody else said it, better than I could, but it is so Scott Pilgrim, it's not even fair.
Jesse.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was looking at the private chat. We're eating some popcorn.
Sorry, I feel like I always end up snacking halfway through these. I hope it's not annoying.
It's fine.
So Scott Pilgrim versus the World was around that time where I will admit to this because I've grown past it, but when I wasn't really driving or independent and my parents didn't take me out to a lot of movies that I was curious about, I found ways to watch films, and unfortunately that is how I watched Scott Pilgrim, was on a laptop, probably dial-up internet, watching it like 15 minutes at a time. I think that's actually the only time I've watched it.
Oh, no.
So I need to revisit it because apparently it's everyone's like favorite like graphic novel or comic book movie. Well, not this circle, but the amount of times that I hear from PJ Campbell or like or like all my buddies that are like, oh, Scott Pilgrim. I'm like, yeah.
My deceased grandmother is obsessed with this movie.
I'm like,
When did she die?
I think Adam and
It's been a minute.
I think Adam and I are the only two in the who are just like, it's good, but Jesus Christ.
So your punishment for that is having to live with me, and I just talk about it all the time.
I enjoyed it, but I think I would enjoy it more now, admittingly. I think it was over my head a little bit with like how much it is like with editing and the effects and some of the comedy and stuff. I just think I was a little young to appreciate it. I want to basically repeat but not repeat everything that my fiance said about Fantastic Four. I like it a lot. I think there's way more working for it than working against it. Michael Chiklis is a great choice. Do you know how to say his name?
Ioan Gruffudd.
Thank you. I will never get it down. I think he's a good Reed Richards. Chris Evans, obviously fantastic. No pun intended. Human Torch. A little bit of a miss with Doom and The Invisible Woman, though. But all in all, an entertaining movie. And yes, still the best Fantastic Four film outside of The Incredibles. Stop messing with the curtains, boy. But Scott Pilgrim is the better film, even from the vague bits that I remember. So we'll go with that for my vote.
All right, with that, Scott Pilgrim versus the World makes it through. We have 5 matchups to go. So, The Amazing Spider-Man versus Atomic Blonde. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Everybody's got their favorite. It's like, your favorite Spider-Man is like the same conversation as everybody's favorite Batman. Everybody's got a different answer for different reasons because I think that some actor captured like, oh, but this actor captures this actor catches that. Andrew Garfield catches nothing that I was looking for in Peter Parker. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I don't care. You could some of you could throw it right back. I don't need hood up, edgy Riverdale like Spider-Man. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't want it. I don't need it. Okay, you can have that right back, Sony, because like I don't have. I think I have a lot of personal things behind the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought I was like, what are you doing too soon? Everybody acts like, oh, Spider-Man 3 was just a disaster. So 10 years after the first one, which you heard me talking about earlier, I have obviously hold in high regard. We're just going to reboot the series. Like, we're just going to try to erase the Sam Raimi movies and start the whole thing over because Sony's so scared that they're going to lose the rights, blah, blah, blah. It's one of those things where, like, we suffer when studios have to make these decisions, you know, behind the scenes, and we suffer. I am not impressed with the Amazing Spider-Man. I think I just don't like Garfield as Parker. I think he's the worst on-screen Parker that we've had, and you guys would like I would take Maguire over him any day because like I think he misses the mark more than Maguire missed the mark with capturing Parker. And I think Garfield is even like older than Tobey Maguire was. Maybe that's not true. They probably were both 30 when they played Peter Parker. But Atomic Blonde is not absolutely a home run, but I definitely enjoy it more. I love that Charlize Theron really just banked off of all the goodwill after playing Furiosa and in Mad Max Fury Road and realized that, you know, like she caught that bug and she was like, I'm gonna be another awesome, just stone cold, just I'm just gonna kick everybody's ass in the next movie that I do. And she's really convincing in this. She's great. I think that works in its favor. I think the movie definitely has this icy feel to the whole thing. I think that works in Atomic Blonde's favor. I think I'm convinced the whole way through. I think that she plays it just right. It just is just kind of cold and distant and snarky enough, not winking at the camera too much. I think that David Leitch does the action much better in this than he would do in his later films. And I'm in it. I like the neon soaked late 80s, you know, kind of vibe in it. I think that's a good. I like comic book adaptations and action movies that are kind of like period pieces, just set just a little bit back in time. And this kind of captures it. That's about as much as I could sum up about it. Definitely Atomic Blonde over The Amazing Spider-Man, because as you can tell, I'm not a fan.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I kind of want to jump off of what she's been saying, just because I have a really weird relationship with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, because I like Andrew Garfield as an actor more. But
we got an echo.
Why do we have an echo all of a sudden? What is happening?
You guys sound good to us.
Okay.
Or to me. Yeah.
I hear it.
Yeah, that's it. Just showed up all of a sudden, and I don't know why.
We were muted, but we do also hear it.
Is there still an echo? Where is that coming from?
Okay, I can't hear it. Whatever happened.
That was very odd. Okay, but I like Andrew Garfield more as an actor, but I don't think I like any of his Spider-Man movies more than any of the original Tobey Maguire ones, which puts me in a very odd place because Tobey Maguire is not my tempo. He's not. There's something about when he's in movies, I just can't do it, and I don't know what it is, but it's just off-putting to me. And so when we got the Amazing Spider-Man films, and I've only rewatched the Amazing Spider-Man one time, so I've seen it twice. I've only seen the Amazing Spider-Man 2 one time. And I've never felt the urge to revisit either of them. Whereas the Raimi Spider-Man films, like, I can get enjoyment out of them, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I have this disconnect with them. But the Amazing Spider-Man films just don't really work for me, which is disappointing because I was really excited about the casting when we got it. And Atomic Blonde, I like seeing Charlize Theron do her thing and be awesome and be in action films that she carries herself really well in. I do like the aesthetic they went with the kind of, neon lighting and the cool, intimate kind of scenes. And we get Sofia Boutella, who I always love seeing. The cast overall is really exciting and really great. And even though it wasn't exactly what I was hoping for out of the movie, and there are some moments when I feel like it lags and it's a bit slow and maybe kind of doesn't know what it's going for, I think I would rather rewatch Atomic Blonde. So I'm going with Atomic Blonde.
Okay.
Can I go
Lauren.
next?
Yeah, I was going to go to you next.
Perfect. I'm just here to disagree with everyone about Spider-Man tonight. Okay. Let me break it down. I think he was an okay Peter Parker. I think he was a fantastic Spider-Man. He captured the intelligence of Peter Parker better than any of the other ones have. He finally created his own web shooters, which is one of my favorite things that Peter Parker does. And I think it just shows his ingenuity and his intelligence really well. So that was exciting to me. As Marisol so beautifully put it, the moody skater boy thing didn't work for me either. So that's the part of his Peter Parker that I don't love. But I think he's a fantastic Spider-Man. He's finally quippy like he's supposed to be. I thought he was just really graceful and effortless. I thought he also emoted so much better than Toby did, at least for me. It came off as a lot more genuine and passionate. I really, really, really like the first Amazing Spider-Man. I have very different feelings about the second one. But Andrew Garfield really worked for me. And I know that he didn't work for everybody else, and that's okay. But I think that he doesn't get enough credit for how good he was as Spider-Man. Like I said, I think he was not a great Peter Parker. But I'm choosing Amazing Spider-Man because I really loved it. And he didn't fall in love with Mary Jane first. And that gets a lot of props from me.
They at least attempted to do Gwen Stacy. Mara.
This is interesting. So I'm probably one of the only people that I don't guess it's intentional, but I just look at each Spider-Man individually. I don't really necessarily rank them against one another. I can find singularly the things I like and don't like about each one. So I don't have a favorite. But I do think that Andrew Garfield is a much more layered, dense actor just in terms of his capabilities. One thing I really value is that even though Spider-Man 2 is probably my favorite live-action Spider-Man film, I don't think that Tobey Maguire has any palpable chemistry with Kirsten Dunst when they're together. I think that it's only palpable when he's pursuing her or unrequited in his affection for her. And so I think that film works for me because they're not together until the end of the movie. I think that probably partially because they were in a real relationship, I think that Andrew Garfield's chemistry with Emma Stone is just dripping off the screen. And so I really believed that romance in a way that I didn't fully, I just wasn't as invested in Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. And it's not necessarily that either of them did per se a bad job. I just didn't feel like the two of them communicated to me any chemistry. I think that the film definitely has problems. I'm more favorable on Amazing Spider-Man than most people are. I do enjoy rewatching it, though I think it's just because I like the story they told, and I was actually into the Campbell Scott backstory and trying to figure out more about his parents. And I like that we went there in a way that we didn't do in the original films. I mean, tonally, the two Spider-Men are just completely different. And so Skater Boy didn't work for me either. I'm definitely on that track, but I'm better on it than most people. I love the cinematography more in Amazing Spider-Man as far as when he's actually being Spider-Man. I was very, very into that. That being said, Atomic Blonde, the fight choreography alone, the staging, the pseudo one cut take long action scene, an editing dream. I love anytime an actor is capable and able to do their own stunts and have them be high octane. Jane Wick all the way, very much here for it. The soundtrack to that movie is just a masterpiece. That is my era. I was born 10 years too late. I should have lived my youth in the 80s instead of just being, produced during it. And I'm also very there for the aesthetic. I love the story. I love triple crosses. I love Mr. X. And even knowing where it was going, I was very much there for the ride. So even though I am not on the I hate the Amazing Spider-Man train, I'm going to give it to Jane Wick.
All right. Jesse.
Also not on the hating Amazing Spider-Man train. It did a lot right. The problem was that Sony was so scared to they knew they needed to start a franchise over, but they were also scared too. So they couldn't decide whether they were going to hold our hands through the movie or assume that we knew something and just massively butcher the great power comes great responsibility. There's some really great casting in it. I think Sally Fields is an inspired choice for Aunt May. I think that's great. Martin Sheen was there to play a part. I thought the Lizard was a really interesting choice. I like the Lizard in the comics. Unfortunately, it comes off very cheesy, and they went, in my opinion, with a subpar design for the character. Much more for the Todd McFarlane, long snout, lizard-looking lizard. The skateboarding thing offends me personally. I'm a skateboarder of more than 10 years, and it felt like such a gimmick to be like, well, we're doing today's Outsiders, and today's Outsiders are skateboarders, but he's like a cool outcast. And I was like, I'm going to do this theater. But I'm going back to saying I loved Andrew Garfield. Atomic Blonde, Jane Wick. It's a cool concept. I've seen this movie, pieces of this movie, so I don't remember a heck of a lot about it, but I'm kind of going off of what everyone else is saying, and I'm going to use the real tired old excuse of being like, this might be this movie's one chance, but we got 7 Spider-Man movies. So, okay, if he doesn't make it through, but I mean, the sad thing is that means that Andrew Garfield doesn't make it through, because what's Amazing Spider-Man 2 going to be? So, yeah.
Maybe Grindelwald.
Yeah. So I want to say that, I respect this movie. It did some things right, and it also tripped over itself several times. So not the worst, but Andrew, you deserve better. I'll go with Atomic Blonde.
Adam.
Amazing Spider-Man. It's like the never been kissed of Spider-Man movies in a lot of ways. He's too suave and sure of himself to be in high school. His shoulders are way too broad. The thing about the Amazing Spider-Man though is it came at a time where I'd been jonesing for a minute after Spider-Man 3. I was like, what are we doing here? What's I didn't need I wanted a sequel though. I didn't want a full reboot. And then
you want John Malkovich Vulture?
Yeah. That was a really exciting prospect. But that said, when I saw Amazing Spider-Man theaters, I really enjoyed it. Not because I thought it was as good or anything. It's just I had low expectations, and his chemistry with Emma Stone in that is part of the reason I enjoy the movie so much. I feel bad for Mark Webb, because he did 500 Days of Summer, which is a great movie. And, a lot of directors nowadays get immediately pigeonholed into doing some big superhero property. And he was one of the first, I say victims, I know his bank account doesn't say that, but I feel like a filmmaker like that, for him to get saddled, we saw what happened with the sequel, right? And I feel like someone like that shouldn't be shackled down with that kind of limited storytelling. But the first Amazing Spider-Man, I think, is, even though it rehashes a lot of the Raimi film, once it gets going, I think it's decent. But I'm a big sucker for these like, I'm gonna murder everybody by myself movies. I love the John Wick movies. I really, really do. I'm a complete sucker for them. When I watch them, I feel like I don't know. They feel like a drug almost. Like it's like an involuntary response when I watch the movies. I feel like an idiot almost because I'm like, I love them. And then with Atomic Blonde, I didn't have as strong a reaction, but it was also just so exciting to watch that action play out. And I'm just here for like any kind of story where you set up a character like that and then show through a series of really convincing action vignettes, not only how capable they are, but how vulnerable they are. And that's what I really like about the action in that movie. I just recently saw Nobody, and that's what I liked about that. And I'm really okay with this like small like subgenre of action movies where we keep putting actors, performers into these roles and giving them a chance to look like badasses because Charlize rose to the occasion. And the movie's not perfect, but I'm going to put it in for a rewatch sooner than I would Amazing Spider-Man. But I echo everyone's sentiments about Amazing Spider-Man. I think it was a poorly timed movie, but in a vacuum, it's not horrible.
All right. Well, with that, Atomic Blonde does make it through. All right. This is where the arguments probably begin. So,
Great.
Star Wars: The Last Jedi versus Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. All right. Well,
I know there are people on this panel who do not like Last Jedi.
Okay. That's fine. So I'm going to start with Superman for The Quest for Peace. So Sidney J. Furie, really great director who made like this weird Superman movie, but like he made this crazy horror movie called The Entity that everyone should see with Barbara Hershey. It's traumatic. It's traumatic, but it's so well made. And it's just one of the best supernatural horror films of the 80s. And then he did Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross playing Billie Holiday, and Billy D. Williams is in that too. He's a really good director. So when I saw Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, I was like, it's puzzling. It's puzzling, but I don't hate it. I don't hate Superman 4 because when we went over Superman 3, I mentioned I like Superman 4 a little bit better, not only for its brevity, but because it's straight to the point. I also like that they got Gene Hackman back. I like a Mark Pillow. I think he's hilarious with the fingernails and everything. But here's the thing about The Last Jedi. This is a movie that I just love revisiting. I am a Star Wars fan. I try to see the good in The Rise of Skywalker, but The Last Jedi is not hard for me. I think my only gripe with it is I think the pacing stumbles once or twice, but I think the themes of The Last Jedi are timeless. I think what it says about Star Wars as a story, as a property, and how we engage with it is so fascinating. And I love what they did with Luke Skywalker because that's only one part of his story. And I think it's a very, very poignant comment on everything that came before it. I think it's a very, engaged piece of storytelling with Star Wars mythology. I think Rian Johnson made it from the heart, and he made a really thoughtful film. And of the new era movies, it's one of the ones I revisit the most. And I don't think it's perfectly paced, like I said, but I think it has some of the most substantial themes of the new era. And I think visually it's in a league of its own with the new era of Star Wars movie. I think of all the new Star Wars movies, it's the most beautiful by a mile. So yeah, The Last Jedi is my vote, but Superman 4 is such a weird little thing that people need to check out because it's truly bizarre, and I kind of dig it, even though it sucks.
Marisol?
Oh yeah, no, totally. Worth watching once at the very least. I look. I think I've said it before. If you twist my arm and you make me watch this or Superman 3, I'm gonna watch Superman 4: Quest for Peace before I watch Superman 3. So, I will. Like at least Superman 4 is just like I'm just like oh the franchise. The franchise was so far away from Donner, and it was just so silly at that point. But like, damn it, they were just holding on. It's like watching like somebody just like hold on their fingertips, like before you just put them out of their misery, and then we don't see another Superman movie for like 26 years. But it tried. It's so silly. And there's, like I said before, entertainment value in that alone, a lot more than Superman 3 for me. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It's so funny. Public discourse. I remember when it first came out, just the hate that was just piled on this movie. Like there was a toxic fandom that was trolling The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's Last Jedi, so hard when it came out. And I remember seeing how like the critics thought it was gay, but it was just like completely rotten on Rotten Tomatoes because the fans were just like it sucks. And then it kind of turned around, and Rise of Skywalker has come out, and now everybody's like it's the unspoken genius of the new like sequels, and it's so goofy to watch the seesaw of public opinion. But regardless, my opinion on Last Jedi has always kind of been the same. I like it. I like Force Awakens more, directly comparing these the Star Wars sequels. I do like Force Awakens more. One of the weird things about Last Jedi, which always took me out of it when I was watching it, was the forced insertion of just like goofy humor, like scene-stopping humor. In like so many scenes where just like it would be really serious and somebody would be like, it's almost like somebody might as well have just pulled out like a mustache or fake teeth or like a goofy ear, like made a face and like like suddenly like Donald Gleason just says like he's like in a really serious moment. And then like Oscar Isaac just interrupts him like while he's trying to make a serious speech, and he's just like gotcha, and it's just like there were just too many moments like that, or like Ren's trying to like have this really serious moment with Ray is trying to have this serious moment with Luke, and it ends up just being just a really tense moment that's just leading to just like pretty much somebody sitting on a whoopee cushion and like just kidding, it's a joke, gotcha. Like there's too many moments of that in The Last Jedi, which I thought was like an odd choice. Maybe they just saw Thor Ragnarok and they really wanted to amp up the humor in the script for some reason. But that always kind of took me on. I never thought that quite fit with the story, and that makes it really distinct from all the rest of the Star Wars movies as far as I'm concerned. But I do like the direction Rian Johnson was going. Absolutely. Still love Force Awakens more. But comparing that to Superman Quest for Peace, different things to appreciate in these movies for different reasons, but objectively speaking, The Last Jedi is heads and tails above of Quest for Peace. But you should see both.
Okay, I'm just going to real quick give some thoughts for me. I think Last Jedi is one of the better Star Wars films. I think there are a lot of issues. There are some issues with that movie that I have. I think, Adam, you hit the nail on the head for me, which is there are some pacing issues. But ultimately, I think what the story Ryan's trying to tell, the themes of Rey Nobody, essentially, really resonate. And I think that this was Star Wars' attempt to do Shakespeare. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I really love that about this movie. I think what they do with Luke is a inspired choice that I believe works really, really well. And I understand that this is not a movie that everyone loves or appreciates. And I know we all come from very different opinions on this movie. And somehow it's become this lightning rod of just pure, either you love it or you hate it. And I think that there is the ability to be in the middle of this movie. And I have thoughts of, I think it's a very much, there is a lot that I love about it, but there is also a lot of things that don't work. The throne room scene is amazing and absolutely incredible, but my vote absolutely would be going for The Last Jedi. Jesse.
I'm going to put on my big boy pants and try to cut to the quick of this. I'm not a fan of Last Jedi for some of the reasons that people have problems with it, but then there's some things that I don't. Like, most of the Luke stuff works for me. There's some of it that doesn't, but I do kind of like the hermit Luke. I mean, when he met him, he was crying about Tashi Station. So, like, I was really that surprised that he's just a crying old man now. I think people got too upset with that. The character arcs didn't work for me. I said I was going to cut this short. I'm sorry. I have so many thoughts. Whenever The Last Jedi comes up, my brain just let a movie. People ask me, like, what I thought about it. And I said, for me, Last Jedi has the best of... Oh, did you lose me?
In and out.
It's
We can
kind of
hear
in
it.
and out, but
We're going to come back shortly.
All right, we might.
I can hear you guys.
Maybe.
We can hear you.
Oh, we
I
got
think
you.
you're all right now.
We got you.
I'm back now. Okay.
Yeah.
After I saw Last Jedi for the first time, a couple friends asked me what I thought about it, and I said I thought it had the best of Star Wars and the worst of Star Wars, and it was thrown in this one movie, which made me feel kind of break even about it. That's all I really want to say about Last Jedi. I'm assuming it'll move past this round, so maybe we can get to giant dissections of it down the road. Quest for Peace is bad now. It was bad when it came out. It's a hot, cheesy mess with a message that is absolutely being forced down the consumer's throat. But as corny in a good way as those movies are, it was a bit ill-timed, I think. So that's all I'll say about that, and I will put Last Jedi through this time.
He said with a
So
heavy
Last Jedi for me is exactly what
We're struggling.
The Rise of Skywalker is for me, but for the opposite reason. I just don't like talking about it on the internet or on YouTube because I love it so much, and the vitriol that I get for that is the same vitriol I get for not liking The Rise of Skywalker on the internet. So it's the same side of it's two different sides of the same coin for different reasons for me. So I kind of try to keep my opinion to myself because it's been so many years at this point, and I love it so much, and it hurts me when people like just can't handle that. I know that's not going to happen on this show, but it's very weird for me to like try and come back to actually talking about the reasons why I love this movie. But I think it just worked for me because I think visually it's one of the most stunning Star Wars movies I'd ever seen. The way it uses color was really exciting to me. I think I really connected with these characters more in this second movie than I did in The Force Awakens, because The Force Awakens I enjoyed as a movie, but it felt like a rehashing beat for beat of what we had already seen, just with new characters. I didn't personally feel like we got a lot of identity out of them, but we got it in the second movie, so I really appreciated that a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of love for this movie. It means a lot to me. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies I'd ever seen. I think that the themes that Rian Johnson chooses to explore are very brave and very bold. And I think that's not always the case, but I think it's why it upset a lot of people. They didn't feel like it was their Star Wars they had always known, because it was trying some deeper Shakespearean kind of things that we hadn't quite seen done that way before in the Star Wars universe. And it turned a lot of people off, which is fine. But for me, it was really exciting. But we also got a lot of the things that we know and love in the movie as well, with getting to see a lot of new kind of creatures and seeing some new planets that were a lot of fun. Yeah, I just remember coming out of this movie and loving it so much, and kind of just immediately shutting off because I didn't want any of the negativity coming my way because it was such a new phenomenon that I had never experienced before. Not that I didn't want to hear differing opinions, but people were so vitriolic about it and still are to this day, which makes it very, very hard to talk about. But this movie means a lot to me. It's probably my favorite Star Wars film for a lot of reasons. Rey Nobody being a huge part of that. It really diving into, her being so caught up in trying to figure out who her parents were and where she came from, and then she gets to that moment and learns kind of that that's not important, that's behind her, and then was excited to see where we were going to go from there, and then just regretted ever wanting to know where we were going to go from there. So my vote is for The Last Jedi.
Mara?
Am I last?
Lauren. I can go to Lauren if you would rather.
No, it's okay. At this point, Last Jedi is going through, so I have no qualms about saying that I'm going to vote for Superman 4. Jesse literally says the exact sentence that I say when I talk about The Last Jedi, which is seldom, is that it has some of the coolest things I've ever seen in Star Wars, and it had a lot of things that didn't hit with me for Star Wars, which was very sad as a fan of Rian Johnson's work, because I was expecting to just be enthralled with everything about it. That being said, though, I'm just very mixed. Like, I'm in neither the I love it or I hate it camp. I find value in watching it, but I don't revisit it because I want to. I revisit it because of the schmodown for the most part, and it's not like a detriment to the movie. It's just that I've literally seen Superman 4: The Quest for Peace at least 200 times. That's not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration. It's probably more than that. It might be closer to like 500 times. I could recite the movie. I have a sentimental attachment to it because it has no effect on the outcome. I'm giving it my vote just because it's funny because if there had to be one thing The Rise of Skywalker did wrong, by the way, it's that if you want to lump what is probably about 90% of the fan base in the Force Awakens camp and the Last Jedi camp, Rise of Skywalker managed to do the one impossible thing that I never predicted, which was make all of them hate it. And then there's 10% of people left over, like Adam Witt, who I love very dearly, who loves The Rise of Skywalker, and I love him for loving it. But I have every awareness of the quality of Superman 4, but I also have a passionate fervor for terrible movies. I legitimately find serenity in watching things that are just painfully bad. Like The Book of Henry, one of my favorite movies. I love watching it. It is just a fever dream that it's literally what lost that guy a Star Wars movie. It's what lost Colin Trevorrow Star Wars. And I love that. So I'm picking the bad movie because it has no consequence on what happens. That's no shade on The Last Jedi, but I'm giving Superman 4 the pity vote.
Lauren.
Taylor, I still hope you love me after this.
I'm still gonna love anyone. I'm still gonna love anyone who doesn't like this movie, as long as everyone still loves me for how much I adore it. That's how it works. That's how it works.
And I don't hate The Last Jedi. I just feel so torn about it. Much like Jesse and Mara said, there were moments, this is a true story, this scene where they crash the ship and it makes the most beautiful explosion ever seen. I literally opened my eyes so wide my contact popped out. That is a true story.
Oh no.
It was mind-blowingly good. And then there were so many things that didn't work for me. And so it's just like this real internal battle of like, do the amazing moments outweigh the stuff that I didn't like? And I still don't know to this day. I don't know. Last Jedi is a big old question mark for me. I have rewatched it for those moments because, like Taylor said, it's some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen. He went big on cinematography and color and spectacle, and I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, I'm still gonna vote for Last Jedi. I have such mixed feelings about it. It's such a mixed bag for me, but I can respect how much you love it. I get it.
It's all right. Myself and Gold Leader go to battle for it in our Finstock Exchange chat every single day, and we're the two lone warriors defending it. So I get it. I get it. It is what it is.
Well, with that, Last Jedi, it does move on. All right, let's move on to something that's not so controversial. Oh, great. Terminator Dark Fate versus V for Vendetta. Marisol, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I think Dark Fate should start whenever they re-release I guess DVDs at Walmart in the $5 bin of Dark Fate. They should include the quote on the bottom that seems unanimous. The best Terminator sequel since T2. That should just be the definition of this film, because that's what I hear everybody say about it, no matter what, across the board. That seems to be the best thing going for this film. That seems to be the highest praise anybody can give it. That's how they sum it up.
The 3 movies that have the best sequel since T2 on their DVD quote.
Pretty much, like that's, and even the critics are all like, that's
4.
all. That's
4.
all there. Like I think probably like for all I know, like probably Peter Travers said that about Genesis. You know, like one night on
James Cameron said that about
bender.
Genesis.
Yeah. Exactly. They were doing the
humans.
same bender that same night. Yeah. But yeah, Dark Fate hurts because like I was hearing people say that before I went to go see it. So I was like, okay, all right, let's go see Terminator Dark Fate. And then I saw it and I was like, okay, all right. Like I was like, okay. I was like, it's like decent. Absolutely with flaws, but absolutely does some great things. We love seeing Schwarzenegger. We love seeing what happened with Schwarzenegger. We love seeing whatever you want to call it, old Terminator, whatever you want to call it. But it's a mixed bag. Dark Fate is a mixed bag. God, love seeing Linda Hamilton. Just she's the highlight of the film for me. Our John Connor replacement, I can't even remember her name. That's how forgettable she was. Zero impact, overstuffed. What was it? Yeah. Exactly. Like just overstuffed. The focus was lost in Dark Fate. Again, when you're putting too much, you're trying to make too many people the main focus of the story. And she got lost in the mix and did not care whether she lived or died at all. Because I was really more interested in Mackenzie Davis for most of the movie. The Terminator was inferior to Robert Patrick's to the T-1000 in every way. Like everything, there was too much. They couldn't decide what was the big focus of Dark Fate. So everybody was kind of just fighting to be the focus of that movie, and nobody made enough of an impression. Nobody really got to steal the show. Dark Fate is solid. I could watch it again, definitely. I really do love Mackenzie Davis. I really do think she kicks a lot of ass. I don't really get why they had her. Like, it's just like, if you're this advanced and you've created these like bionic humans and everything, like why would they have such a obvious weakness? Like I just think that was just a little, why wouldn't you fix that? Why does she run out of batteries like after like an hour of fighting? but it just flawed but solid. V for Vendetta is one that I haven't revisited in a while, but is just so burned in my memory, so iconic and so memorable. Solid movie, not perfect, but just very, very solid. Some killer performances there from Hugo Weaving and Natalie Portman. Very vivid, great adaptation. James McTeague? Is that who directed that? gets it, captured it, created that world. The Wachowskis were right behind it, buoying that. They produced it. You could tell, you could feel their influence. That you could feel them fresh off the Matrix, pouring their little anarchist hearts into V for Vendetta. And it's iconic. The score. Who is that? Is that Dario Marinelli? Somebody help me. Inner Geekdom people, help me. But yeah, score is excellent.
Yes, it is. It is Dario.
Okay, good. Score is excellent. I replay that moment where Evie just like realizes, like her potential and everything. That is some of the best of that decade. Some of the best movie music you'll ever hear. Yeah, V for Vendetta is super solid. I can't wait to watch it again. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. And those thoughts edge out Terminator Dark Fate, which I'm a little more conflicted over. And V for Vendetta is really just a nasty little portrait, very emphatic and very, very, very evocative portrait of fighting back against the big bad man. V for Vendetta.
Mara.
I'm actually kind of glad that at least one other person didn't love Terminator Dark Fate, because it did not work for me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a person that responds much better, especially when you're doing any kind of social or political messaging. Even when I agree with the fundamental concept, I like subtlety. I don't like heavy-handed, overt feminism for the sake of saying, look at how woke we are. And there should be a show that I do called Mara's Headcanon, because I have some excellent headcanon about what the Rise of Skywalker should have been. And I have a fantastic headcanon for what the character of Danny should have been in this movie. Because I think it would have added so much more dimension, and it would have earned the respect that I think they wanted from that character, that it coasted off of a lot of the goodwill that Linda Hamilton created from the Sarah Connor character. And I also think it coasted off of a lot of the goodwill from Robert Patrick, because the Rev 9 just pales in comparison as far as intimidation, even with the advanced concepts that they had. I do think Mackenzie Davis was awesome. I love her in the movie. I also agree that there's some systematic issues with how they personified her augmentation, but I just don't like revisiting it. The only consistent things, though, for me, and this is across all the Terminator movies, is that Linda Hamilton is box office gold. And I actually think Arnold Schwarzenegger is the only consistently good thing about every Terminator movie. I'll stand by it, all of them. And surprisingly, I legitimately prefer Terminator Genesis to this movie. It's just me. That being said, I can only echo the glowing things about V for Vendetta. Why bother when we've been here this long? Everyone else already said it better. Checkmate, V for Vendetta.
Jesse.
Really quick, I will say that not only is Terminator Dark Fate the best sequel since T2, I also think it's the freshest. I know that Salvation tried to go into the future, and it's weird. It's like, yeah, let's take you to the war, to past Judgment Day and go forward. And that movie was so damn boring. I thought Dark Fate was at least a really fun ride, and it was cohesive. And then they introduced, it's like, yeah, you may have become aware and you may have been able to stop Skynet, but now there's Legion. And it's like that concept that people have, the future's inevitable, or it just will change and adapt and a similar outcome still happens. And I thought that was a fun concept of time travel to introduce to the Terminator franchise. Whereas all the other ones are no matter what you do, it's Judgment Day, everything's the same, but maybe the years change. Dark Fate tried to do something different, and it didn't succeed on every single level, but it succeeded on several of them. And I walked out going, heck yeah, I enjoyed a Terminator movie. That's a good feeling. But let's just, call a spade a spade. V for Vendetta is absolutely incredible cinema, great acting, great message, uncomfortable message at times right now to watch it. It's very, I'm not gonna say woke, but it's a kind of a mental awakening to watch that movie, and all the ideas and moralities and stuff that are presented, I think were refreshing then, and they're still refreshing now. It's always worth a revisit. Like JDC says in the comments, remember the 5th of November. I heard that long before I ever saw the movie. And it's funny how often that people post that. And I'm like, oh, I love V for Vendetta. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, cool. Anyways, V's got my vote. V for vote.
Tell.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spend too long on this one. I will say, much like Prometheus, I was kind of dragged along to this one and then ended up being the only one that liked it. So that's 2 for 2 for me. But I really have fun with Terminator Dark Fate. I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. I think it's enjoyable. I like Mackenzie Davis in it very much. But yeah, this is a pretty easy V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta has just become kind of that iconic cultural thing where it's very recognizable from quotes. It's very recognizable from visually from what it has presented, the cast as well. So I will put my vote to V for Vendetta.
Lauren.
Follow me here on this comparison because in my head this makes a lot of sense. I don't know why, but V for Vendetta for me is like the comic book version of Phantom of the Opera. I don't know if it's just the mask or if it's just like the tones, but damn, do I love a dramatic entrance and a dramatic costume. Oh, that works for me. V for Vendetta is so good and he's so dramatic and I live for the drama. That's why I love Batman so much. But yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like, why is this Phantom of the Opera, but political? It's still as relevant today as it was when it came out. I think everything that's good about it holds up, and I love it. It's V for Vendetta all the way for me.
And Adam.
Yeah, V for Vendetta is like 1984 meets The Raid. I like it. It's a lot of fun. lot of great action, a lot on its mind. The graphic novel is fantastic. And as far as like comic to movie adaptations, V for Vendetta is up there with accuracy. Like it's a really great page to screen adaptation. The thing about Terminator Dark Fate is like I feel like these Terminator sequels they're just jazz at this point. You know, we're getting all these one-offs where we see what could have happened after Terminator 2. And so we technically have 4 Terminator 3s now, and 5 if you count the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which I think is the best sequel to Terminator 2 that ever happened. And if people haven't seen the Sarah, thank you, Mara. If people haven't seen it, you go buy the digital version, go buy the DVDs, because Lena Headey is one of the best Sarah Connors we've ever had. And the thing I like about that movie is it does what I've always wanted to see, and that's get back to the basics of a Terminator being scary. And Garrett Dillahunt, great character actor who pops up in like everything if you look him up. He plays a Terminator in that, and there's this scene where he fights, like he takes on like an entire like SWAT team, and it's to When the Man Comes Around by Johnny Cash, and it's one of the most cinematic, crazy action scenes I've ever seen, and it's meant to demonstrate how lethal a Terminator can be, and it's terrifying. And I've been wanting to see that in a movie again for so long, and this TV show did it from the 2000s. Come on. The Dark Fate has good stuff in it. Linda Hamilton being one of them. Carl the Terminator and his drapery being another. I enjoy all the jokes, but it's just another one-off to me that has some cool ideas, but it doesn't really do a whole lot with them. V for Vendetta deserves to move into the next round. I think we're going to have even more substantial debates about it. I think Dark Fate is better. For my money, I like it more than Genesis, but I completely accept Mara's argument. It's all interchangeable after T3 for me. Salvation, Genesis, Dark Fate are all kind of interchangeable to me. Genesis being on the lower end of the totem pole. But Sarah Connor Chronicles, go check it out. Honorable mention. V for Vendetta, move ahead.
Preach.
All right.
Yep.
With that, V for Vendetta does move ahead. All right, 2 to go. Alien Covenant versus Road to Perdition. Mara. I'm gonna let you.
Can we just make this one easy? It's going to be Road to Perdition. I mean, even if I don't even mention the Oscars, I totally respect the people that do really love Alien Covenant, just because it was just a little too much of Ridley, you need to put more alien stuff in your movies. Even if I just totally disregard that, I just think, my God, what a beautiful piece of cinema. The acting, the music, the cinematography, just a kiss, a gift to the world. And we'll talk about it more at some point, won't we, Jacob?
Yes, we absolutely will. Lauren, gonna go to you.
Just because we're nearing the end here, I'm gonna make it short and sweet and say Road to Perdition.
Adam?
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk about Sarah Connor Chronicles. So, Alien Covenant, really, I think it's fun. I think Prometheus is better. But I like that we got to see xenomorphs again, got to see them do their thing. I personally like Road to Perdition more, not just because it was a swan song for Paul Newman, but Tom Hanks is intimidating in it, and that's interesting to watch. So, Road to Perdition by a slight margin for me.
Jesse?
Sam Mendes, I believe, and Tom Hanks, right? That's a pretty killer combination. Road to Perdition.
Marisol?
Yeah, Covenant doubled down on the problems with Prometheus, really torn between what kind of movie it wanted to be. And the characters, the leads, our scientists, everybody who were following. Well, I guess it wasn't necessarily scientists as much in this one. It was just kind of couples populating like another planet, pretty much. It was colonizers. But caught even more in between. The characters are making sillier decisions. The characters are just meat to be murdered, more in Covenant than they were in Prometheus. Covenant does slide down a little bit comparing it to Prometheus. Still decent. I still enjoy it. But Road to Perdition, man, has Sam Mendes made a bad film?
Yes.
Don't even answer that because the answer is no. No, it's
one.
not.
He has made one bad movie.
What? Tell me.
Spectre.
Okay.
Separate conversation, guys. All right,
we made a bad movie. Okay.
We'll save that. We'll save that. That's being saved for something that hasn't been announced yet.
That's a whole other thing.
That's being saved
That
for
Bond
something that's
movie
not
is
yet.
not a bad movie.
Spectre might have been. Look, the only thing I'll say is Spectre might have been maybe not. Obviously, it's no Skyfall. Not a bad movie though. But we're not talking about Spectre. Yeah, Road to Perdition, just firing on all cylinders. What a beautiful, methodical, slow burn kind of story. It just feels like you're diving into the pages of a graphic novel. Like, it just feels like so much in Road to Perdition just feels like we're basking in each one of the frames. Just beautiful. Thomas Newman's score is just seeps into my skin. I replay it. I replay scores a lot. Road to Perdition is on heavy rotation in my playlists because it's just fucking beautiful. Such a gorgeous score, so beautifully shot. It's Sam Mendes again, as you guys all know. Like he's
director of Spectre, right?
Percentage.
We'll get.
I can see my thoughts are not being appreciated here. I'm feeling a little disrespected. Okay.
I was just calling back to Jacob, pointing.
No, you're cool. Yeah, good, great. Yeah. Excellent. You couldn't even do it. You couldn't make Jude Law unattractive as much as you try, as much as you put that little fake hair piece on him with like the balding, like the receding hairline, and probably a little Jared Leto paunch in there. You can't make Jude Law unattractive, even while he's creepy and photographs murders. Road to Perdition, great. Do like Covenant. Road to Perdition is just stronger across the board as a film. Gave us Daniel Craig for the first time, and gave us Paul Newman in fine form for one of the last times we would see him on screen. Such a great legacy performance from Paul Newman.
Yep. All right. Toe.
So I'm gonna be the chaos vote and say Alien Covenant. So I haven't actually seen Road to Perdition, so I have to be that person that's like, well, but Alien Covenant though, guys. I actually enjoy the movie. I know it gets like clowned on all the time, but I actually have fun with it. I don't think it's as good as Prometheus or strong as Prometheus, but I have a good time with it. Sorry, everyone. I've let everyone down by not having seen Road to Perdition, but that's just what it is.
All right.
Hey, Jacob, I have 2 numbers for you that nullify everything you're going to ever say about Spectre. 19,
Sure.
17.
No, that's fair. That is more than fair. And yeah, we will get into that in something that has not yet been announced. All right, last matchup, guys. The hard one. Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man Far From Home. I saved the best for
ready.
last.
Do we have another
Oh,
round?
have we got one? Have we got one?
We got one, especially because I've been laughing so much. I think I busted a stitch.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no.
Oh, no.
There's
I'm so
107 left. I'm fine.
Living up to the cliche.
Alrighty. Jesse, I'm gonna let you go first.
Are you sure?
Basically, you haven't gone first in a while, so I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay.
That's an Eve's webcam.
So, I said when we brought up the first Spider-Man that was actually my favorite of the Raimi films. My favorite live-action Spider-Man movie, not the popular opinion, it's Spider-Man Far From Home because Mysterio is one of the characters. I grew up with a 90s cartoon, and I was like, Mysterio's the character they will never get right. They'll never have the balls to put in live action, and if they do, they're going to bomb. He's going to be cheesy, corny, ridiculous, and it'll suck. And then the news came out. It's like Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be playing Quentin Beck, and my eyes got huge. I said, "Oh, really?"
Did you?
I popped a contact out, and it was crazy because I don't even wear them. And I enjoyed Homecoming quite a bit, and I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I absolutely love him. But they managed to kind of fix a lot of my issues that I had with Homecoming by letting, even though Peter was living in the shadow of Tony Stark, he was more on his own and more independent, and he got to really be Spider-Man. That in fight when he's fighting all the drones, and when we really get to see a visual, like what him using his spider sense looks like. There's so much fan service in this, and then that big trippy Mysterio scene. It was just big. Far From Home was a big Spider-Man movie, and I thought it wasn't going to work because it took him out of New York, but to me, in its heart, other than maybe Into the Spider-Verse, Far From Home is the most Spider-Man movie that we've had. Spider-Man 2 has highlights. Obviously the train sequence that everyone talks about, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, but there's a lot of like weird choices that like with the neural thing with the tentacles, and that's why he's a bad guy. And I was like, that seems really weak and shallow. And then it just continues the trend that all Sam Raimi Spider-Man villains kill themselves. It just keeps happening. Green Goblin, his own glider. Doc Ock pulled a reactor down on top of himself. Venom jumped on a grenade, and Harry jumped in front of his spear. And I'm just like, wow, what was the point of Spider-Man even being here? So there's a lot. I could go back and forth on these movies, but for me, it's not close. It's Far From Home, and Spider-Man 2 was far from winning this one. That's all I got.
Well, we could be upsetting Jesse at some point, possibly. Marisol.
These are two different versions of two different iterations of Spider-Man for sure. I'll get to the point. Spider-Man 2. Absolutely Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is one of the most delightful. Sam Raimi found his footing with the first Spider-Man and then took it to the next level. He leveled up with Spider-Man 2. It is one of the purest and most joyful movies that captures the feeling of a comic book coming alive in a film. All the energy and all the drama and all the stakes and all the seriousness and all the goofiness and all the jokes and all the levity, without actually like like seeing like a comic panel or something like that, like Sin City or like Hulk or something like that, actually showing physical comic panels. He figured he really hit his stride with Spider-Man 2. And just the pluses, the highs are just so much higher than anything that I experienced in Far From Home. It really hurts me that Far From Home was the follow-up to Endgame for me. That was tonal whiplash for me. I wasn't ready after Endgame to see such a slight lighthearted adventure in Far From Home, like 2 months after Endgame. I wasn't ready for that. And it hurts my opinion. It hurts my outlook on Far From Home. So it's definitely that's a simple version of everything. That's the summary of everything. The point is, it's Spider-Man 2 for me. Excellent example of pitch perfect comic book filmmaking.
Great. I have a very weird issue with Spider-Man Far From Home. As someone who...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry guys. If you're in the chat and you haven't seen it, this is just
Spoilers.
For a minute, so I think it's okay.
So I enjoy Far From Home quite a bit. I think having Mysterio in it worked really well. I liked the way that the character was used. Overall, I don't have problems with the film itself. The way that the film ended took a lot of my enjoyment out of it. And as a movie that's part of this huge interconnected universe, it's hard for me to watch it as a standalone film and judge it that way with the way that the film ends. Because now I've been sitting here going, okay, you need to prove to me in your next movie that Spider-Man's in why you earned that ending, but you're not going to be able to prove to me why you earned it until the next film, which is really frustrating to me. That they blew the doors open with that ending, and now I've been sitting with it going, I don't know if I like where you're going with it, but I don't know what the consequences are right now and how you're going to pay it off, so I don't know if I actually enjoy the way this movie ended. And it's a really weird place for me to be sitting, just not knowing how I feel about where it got tied off. And that's kind of my issue with how a lot of these movies end sometimes in interconnected universes, is like I can't at the moment just enjoy the movie for what it is by itself because of that. And it's really just, it's something I haven't been able to overcome since we saw it. I remember sitting in the movie theater looking at you going, I really enjoyed it until they decided to go with that ending. And now I have to wait until they prove to me that I enjoy it and that it was worth it and that it's a payoff for that character to go that way. So that being said, I'm picking Spider-Man 2 because I still don't have that resolution. Like, I still don't have that moment that's shown me why that works. So I have to pick Spider-Man 2 because I do enjoy Spider-Man 2, but it's hard. Like, and I can look at Spider-Man 2 as a part of a whole that's been concluded at this point and know its place in the universe that it was in and that I like what was done with it. But I can't do the same for Far From Home at this point.
Adam.
That's until Multiverse of Madness ruins all of our lives.
Exactly.
Which we're all looking forward to. Look, I forgot about my visual aids. My daughter is like me. She's a Spider-Man fan. So look, we got original Spider-Man here. We got Miles Morales. We've got Spider-Gwen. We got a little squishy Spider-Man. and look, we got Spider-Gwen and a motorcycle. Okay. So we got all of them at once. They were all here. Spider-Man Far From Home, fun stuff. Cool to see Mysterio on screen. I dug the way it subverted expectations in the spirit of Iron Man 3 in a lot of ways. I was on board with that. While I appreciate the way fighting all those drones demonstrated the physicality of Spider-Man, it's hard to get invested in him fighting drones. And I could use a break from drones in movies overall, just like as things that show up and have to be punched. I'm a little worn out with drones. Spider-Man 2 works on its own. The thing I love about the first two Spider-Man Raimi films is they're very similar to the first two Donner Superman movies, in my opinion. The first movies do a great job of setting up the character, and then the second movies can just run with it. We have an established character. We have an established dynamic, with the romance at the center of the story. And Alfred Molina is a great villain. Not quite sure how he's so good at taking a punch from Spider-Man. He's still just a regular dude in the face. So, like, he should be dead from all the punching because his head is regular. So, but I really like Spider-Man 2. It's one of my favorite superhero movies, and I vote for it to move ahead.
All right, Lauren.
I also have a visual aid.
Buckle up, everyone.
So
Sorry. Actually, I'll go to. Who am I going? So who
I'm
would
back.
like to go first?
it doesn't matter.
Mara has a
Lauren?
visual aid.
We
Oh,
have a
okay.
Spider-Man drone that I know you hate drones,
Drones!
but like he can walks around and patrols our house. Like he has an app and everything.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Dan did an event where he actually got to meet Stan Lee before he died. It was really, really
Oh, my
awesome.
God.
Wow.
And he has an autographed cap by Stan Lee. It was just like the fucking best. But yeah, they gave us this little drone to remember the event by, and so it patrols our house and it makes our cats get pissed.
Conspicuous.
I'm gonna take my narwhal back now though, because this is my cuddly I'm sick narwhal.
Mara, that's quite a device, but does it do this?
And sadly, it is vastly inferior to that. So this is actually really, really tough because when I did say that Spider-Man 2 is my favorite live action film, it doesn't mean that I think it's the best live action film. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Spider-Man Far From Home is that film, but I very, very much like the film. I'm with Jesse. I did not think I would see Mysterio put to film in a way that would work. Similarly, I didn't think I would ever see Ant-Man on film and that it would work. And I think Guardians really paved the way for that. So thanks Guardians 1. But I love both these movies. So I'm only going to focus on the small grievances I have because there's no point in just talking about how excellent the movie is since I think it's excellent. I actually really don't like another, I guess, spoiler because it's been out for a while, so I don't feel too bad. I don't like how it seems like with the Stinger that they're doing Secret Invasion without actually committing to doing Secret Invasion. They're giving us the things that can happen with Secret Invasion without committing to just doing it. And so I kind of don't really like that half-assed approach to the Skrulls. I would want them to either do it or not do it. And I know we don't know where that goes yet. So I'm not saying that it doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but it's one of the deficiencies every time I leave it where I'm like, oh. That being said, Spider-Man 2 does have one major scientific grievance for me. Tritium is not rare. Tritium is everywhere. It's a byproduct of every single nuclear power plant. We shit tritium out into the environment all the time. Like, no secrets. Sorry, NRC. I'm not spilling secrets. Tritium is everywhere, so it's not rare. He didn't need to go to Harry Osborn and be like, hey, bro, I need some of that sick tritium. You want to do a little Spider-Man trade? Do you want Spider-Man? I want tritium. Yes. Didn't need to happen. That being said, I actually really, as a scientist, specifically someone who always wanted to study fusion, I was so sad when I got out of the Navy. I got an interview for the place I ended up working. And like the day after I accepted that job, Los Alamos called me for a research job. And I was like, shit. Because I always wanted to research fusion. But instead, I just ended up making fission because fission's just easy and dumb. But I like there is a really big existential nature to research science. And just like Oppenheimer or any other brilliant person who can find a quote from Indian religion and just talk about what are the consequences of what I've done. And I actually really like that struggle because I do think that it kind of makes sense. I agree wholeheartedly with Jesse. Raimi villains have an issue. But this one, I forgive that self-sacrifice because I think that coming to terms with what do the ends justify the means as far as adventures and forays into research science? What will it give to people versus what am I taking away from them in order to get it? That actually really plays to me a lot. And I get that that's a very personal motive. I like both these movies very, very much. However, I can forgive Tritium just a teeny tiny bit more. So for what was probably very confusing, very disjointed. I'm going to go with Spider-Man 2. Forgive me. I am on drugs.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we
Lauren?
live for that.
I don't know if you guys are how familiar you are with Family Guy, but as I was thinking about this lineup, I've been thinking about it all week. I couldn't help but think of the quote, "Now that we're all gonna die, I feel that there's something I must share with you. I did not care for Spider-Man 2. I have a big Raimi issue. I really do. I don't have time for his existential crisis. I don't have time for Doc Ock, who's a pseudo villain. I don't have time for his lack of chemistry with his love interest. Whereas I have all the time in the world for Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. All the time in the world. The scene at the bar when he removes the illusion and goes into his villain speech. I personally, it's one of my favorite villain speeches of all time. I thought it was immaculate. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man really comes into his own in Far From Home, like Jesse was saying. Yeah, I think he matured. I think this was his most character development that he's had. The scene where he finally taps into his spider senses, it gives me goosebumps. I think it is such an incredible portrayal of that power of his. I'm already pissed that Spider-Man 2 is winning. I think Far From Home is a far superior film, and I will die on that hill. Much like Marisol feels about everybody hyping up Into the Spider-Verse. Whenever I see that Spider-Man 2 is like everybody's greatest comic book of all time, I'm like, did you guys watch a different movie than I did? Like, it was okay. It was
That's how I felt for the last
Spider-Man.
6
it was
weeks.
technically a Spider-Man movie.
Well, with that,
So
oh, sorry.
much to everybody's demise, I don't care for it.
Well,
I'm picking Far From Home.
with my thoughts, I would go Spider-Man 2, only just. But I really do love both of these movies. I think Spider-Man 2 just slightly. I would pick Spider-Man 2 only just. But with that, Spider-Man 2 does make it through. We got through this week. Thank you so much, guys.
What do we have next week?
I'm really quickly going to go through next week's. We
Are
have
those movies left?
300, Alien 3, Batman 66, The Avengers, Back to the Future Part 3, Birds of Prey, Black Panther, Hellboy the Golden Army, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, Joker, Mystery Men, Red 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, RoboCop 3, Star Trek The Voyage Home, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Red Sonja, Spider-Man 3, Star Trek Beyond, Swamp Thing, Terminator 3, Time Cop, The Losers, The Dark Knight, The Legend of Zorro, The Mask, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men 2, The Kitchen, Venom, and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yay! I'm so happy Zack Snyder's Justice League is in this.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually went through and I got to Whedon's Whedon's Justice League, and I went, you know what? Nah, stuff. I'm just putting Snyder's in.
Snyder's in instead of Whedon's.
Yeah, I put Snyder's in instead, just mostly because I had to kick a few movies out, and I was like, I don't want to kick Snyder's out, so I kicked Whedon's out instead.
You just bought yourself like 4 get out of jail free cards. I take back my damn you, Jacob, from earlier.
I also take
Yeah, but you're also undermining your argument. You have some influence in this bracket, don't you?
Me?
Oh,
No. This has all been very random. I do have some teasers for next week, so we've got.
Okay.
No.
Oh.
Oh.
Interesting. Interesting.
Oh, eat it, Dick.
Oh no, there it is.
And with that, thank you
Oh my
very
God.
much for everyone for joining us. So I'm going to Adam. I'm going to go to you first. Where can people find you online?
There I am. Check me out on Twitter and Letterboxd and Schmodown pay-per-view this Friday the 20th. Both myself and Chancelot Ellison have matches. Check it out.
Gonna be a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Adam, for staying up with us and doing this bracket. It has been an absolute pleasure. Marisol, where can they find you online?
No, yeah, I'm in the same time zone as Adam, so I'm officially in tomorrow I've joined tomorrow with you and Taylor.
Four of us are at the same time.
Twitter and Letterboxd are probably the places on the internet I'm the most active. I'm really not an internet person. I'm really not. But Twitter and Letterboxd is the same handle. It's Marisol _Miriah MIRIAH is where you could possibly find me when I pop my head out of my groundhog hole. And then I'm also in the Schmodown. I'll have a title match next month against Ethan Irwin, so that'll be exciting. And yeah, I'll second Collins, because Collins is going to play to go for a #1 contenders match against JTE this upcoming week, and so is our boy Chance. So Corruption's having a pretty big month, so support the Corruption boys and watch them on Schmodown.
Yes, we have a very big week coming up, and I'm very excited for these matches. Thank you, Marisol. We will see you next week.
Bye.
All right, Jesse and Lauren, where can the good people find you guys on?
I'm just here having unpopular Spider-Man opinions.
Normally, I would say, hey, I'm not doing a whole lot, but you guys can find me on here. But after that last round, shall see. But no, thank you guys so much for having us on here. You can find me on Twitter at Jesse Swift, and also on the Flick and Reel Fancast on YouTube. That is the word flick hyphen the letter N and then another hyphen REEL. I think I got that all down that time. And we just had a fun hangout stream that lasted almost 3 hours, and a big announcement for August 21st. We're having a bachelor party digitally. So, bros that want to come and hang out, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna do trivia and drinks and whatever else. So it'll be a great time. Mark your calendar, 5 p.m. PST. I think is when we're gonna start going live, and hopefully run till like 1 p.m. or somebody's on the floor. We'll see.
All right. We will see you then, Jesse. Thanks, guys. We will see you for the next show. Thank you very much. And Mara, where can they find you online?
This is a personal assault.
There's always
This was
one.
on
Come on.
purpose.
There's always one.
This hurts most. This hurts more than last week, which I don't even remember. But what did I even vote for? Did I vote for Terminator 2?
I think you guys did, but Lord of the Rings made it through.
Okay. Well, I'll be here next week. Oh man, sorry, stuff's coming out of my face. Cut to black.
That's it. Go to us. Oh.
I will have all of her links down in the description where everyone can find Mara. She will be back next week.
She will.
We've had a long hangout session.
We have.
We've had a lot to say. It's been a lot of fun. Friendships have been blown up, which is always the fun part of this show. But I hope everyone who joined us live had a lot of fun. I hope you're excited about the lineup we've got coming next week. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, like I said, if you want to find everyone's social media links or where you can find everyone online, that's all going to be in the description, including ours. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this week, and we will see you next week.
We will see you next week. It's going to be a lot of fun, and there's some friendships that are going to burn.
Probably.
We'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.